point. It's maybe why they've come down to this area. We're not too far from Gowrie Dam, and so a perfect place for them to go and have a drink and then come into the shade. And I think this afternoon we're going to try to see if I can head up towards where Steph had those mating lions this morning, see if we can find them. It'd be good to catch up with some lions. I think it'll be a bit hot to start off with, but we'll try and see what's going on and just try and get them. And if they are very sleepy, we'll come back a little bit later in the evening. So that's probably the plan for me. And so I wonder if there's anything down at Gowrie Dam at the moment. After last week we got lots and lots of rain, so it's always a good place to check, especially in hot conditions like this. You find that elephants and buffalo and those kind of things like to come down and have a bit of a mud wallow at this time of the day. So that's why we're going to check most of the water holes as we go along this afternoon. I think Jamie's got a similar plan. And I'm sure Taylor on Bushwalk will also be checking all the little mud wallows that we battle to get to on the vehicle. So I think that's going to be the modus operandi for the day today, given that it is so warm. And I actually haven't been to Gowrie Dam since we've had all the rain. And it's quite full. It's a lot full. Last year it was just little puddles. Now you can see there's quite a lot of water in here. Still not nearly enough to last for the winter, but it does look a lot better, that's for sure. And it's always so crazy to see this dam now in such dry conditions. In 2012, when I was working at Chitwa, I spent quite a bit of time in this area, and I've seen this where the whole dam wall washed away and it was overflowing. So to see it like this is very, very different. But very good to see a little bit of water at least. Last time I came through on Bushwalk, it was about to dry up. There was probably about another week left of water, and then it was going to be gone. So in the next few weeks. Alright, so it is very warm out here. I can tell you now, in the sun it feels very hot, so I think we're going to have a slower start to the afternoon. It'll be good for birds and insects. They'll enjoy the heat. You'll find that a lot of the predatory birds will be using the thermals and flying around, utilizing that heat that is coming off the ground, but the animals are going to be a little bit more lethargic, I think. I don't think we're going to see too much activity just yet. So as it cools down though, should be good. Like I say, it'll be a good afternoon for elephants and buffalo, and as they look for water and places to go and rest and try and get out of the sun and just rehydrate after a hot day. Now, I know Jamie also wants to go look for the wild dogs that we've seen this morning, and given that it is her birthday, hopefully she'll have a good afternoon. Alright, but we'll see you guys all a little bit later.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome on this very hot day in Africa, where we are starting off with a pile of hot dogs. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
You are live, you are live.
and welcome on a bright and sunny day here on the Sunset Safari, where on this World Wildlife Day we are privileged enough to sit with Africa's second most endangered carnivore. And not just one, but apparently 15 of them are hidden, dotted around somewhere here. What a spectacular way to start off our afternoon. I, for one, will most definitely not be complaining about this. Oh, we've got one sitting up. And just while we are here, very warm welcome to Mount Horeb Elementary and to Hampton Oaks. It is lovely to have all of you on board, and I'm not sure if you realize it, but it is very, very appropriate that you should be joining us this afternoon, and I'll explain that in a second. My name is Jamie. I was about to say this afternoon my name is Jamie. It's always Jamie. And on camera with me is Dave, and we're coming to you from a place called Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. Now, for all of our viewers, both new and regular alike, please send through your questions using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and we'll get right to them once we've discussed some of the voices and questions of our school kids joining us this afternoon. Now, today's World Wildlife Day, somewhat appropriately. It's also, just to pop this out of the way quickly, my birthday, so thank you to all of the... Thank you, Davy! I don't want to shout too loudly because of the dogs. But thank you to all of you who've sent through birthday wishes. But far more importantly, I'm very lucky to share it with World Wildlife Day, the day upon which the CITES treaty was established. Oh, here comes the dog, here. Look here. Isn't that special? Now she's going to walk right next to us and go and listen to this. This is the alpha female. Listen to that response. Oh no, it had something in its mouth. That's what it's all about. Yeah, it's a piece of bone. Amazing sounds that they're making. Watching special scenes like this gives us a very interesting answer to Miss Hamilton's class's question: why do we need to protect wildlife? First of all, sitting in wildlife and in nature enriches us as human beings. To see scenes like this, there really is a connection that if we lost, we would be absolutely devastated as a species. Wildlife is very important to the balance of nature out here. Each and everything from the smallest ant to the mammoth elephant or a blue whale plays a crucial role in the balance of the ecosystem. And most importantly, I feel as though we owe it to the wildlife. I'm sure you'd agree. I mean, look at if not trust, then certainly the complete confidence that these dogs have in us, that they've come and laid down right next to our vehicle. I feel as though we owe it to them. We've taken so much from the wildlife away already that moments like this and protecting and treasuring this is a very important thing. Now, Joe, you want to know what is being done to help save wild dogs. And just quickly, to give you an idea of numbers, there are less than 500 left in South Africa, and around about 200 or so in the reserve that we're in. So this is hands down one of the biggest populations that we have. The biggest population that we have in South Africa occurs here in the Greater Kruger National Park area. And you want to know, Joe, what is being done to protect wild dogs as much as possible. So there is an organization, look at this. Hello, doggy. Right next to us. There's an organization called Endangered Wildlife Trust that does a huge amount in terms of monitoring these animals, running vaccination programs, running reintroduction programs to places where wild dogs have been exterminated through various reasons, whether it's by farmers or the fact that they used to have, it's changing slowly, this terrible reputation as being pests to farmers and killing livestock and so on. So there's lots being done, a lot of monitoring, reintroduction to different places, and importantly, research so that we can actually understand how we can best go about helping these creatures, because essentially the more you understand about a species, the more you can do to help to protect it. And the theme, of course, of this year's World Wildlife Day is listen to the young voices. And I think we've got lots of young voices joining us this afternoon who have some amazing questions that they're sending through. Hey, Smelly. Yes. I love the smell of wild dogs. They smell a little bit like wet dog, dirty wet dog, but it's a smell that I've come to absolutely love. It is a natural smell. It's a very real smell to enjoy out here. So while Dave and myself bake in the sun, we're really enjoying seeing them resting in the shade. Now, Wilson, you want to know a little bit more about wild dogs. Wilson, no, wild dogs are not the same as hyenas. Hyenas are actually in a completely separate family, so they're not dogs at all. They belong in a family called the Hyenidae family. Wild dogs are true canids, but they're not domestic dogs. They're not just dogs that have become feral or stray. They are a different species completely. They're basically the African equivalent of a wolf. They work in quite a similar way. They're obviously much, much smaller than the wolves that you might find in North America or else in Europe. They're much, much smaller, but they have an alpha male and an alpha female, and they also all work together as a pack to help to raise the puppies, look after the puppies, and look after each other as well. So they are true dogs. They are also known as painted wolves, painted dogs, which I think is a beautiful name for them. Because wild dogs sometimes give people the idea that they are just dogs. They're not just dogs. Not that dogs are bad, but they are a unique species all of their own. I can actually hear this one panting. They're so hot this afternoon. It's over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm glad I've got a nice seated position here, almost in the shade. I don't know how Taylor's feeling about walking in this heat, but let's go and find out.
Jamie, yes, today's heat is quite something, isn't it? Craig, on the other hand, is dying. Now, my name is Taylor, and the name I just said just a moment ago is Craig, and he is on camera this afternoon. Rexon is assisting us, making sure we are out nice and safe, preventing from any animals sneaking up to us. Now, we're out here on foot, walking around, doing the most exciting things, of course, and one of the most favorite things out here, and I hope that all of you watching from the different schools from all over the world that have tuned in this afternoon will enjoy it too. And seeing as though it's World Wildlife Day, I thought we'd talk about one of my favorite animals, elephants. On this very, very hot day, we might be lucky enough to find some. And we've actually got their footprints walking along this little animal pathway. Well, you can actually see it's actually a mitre drain that's dug off. So this is something that we do for conservation, actually, is we dig these big drains that go off of the side of the roads, as well as with a big bump in the road to stop the water from sitting on them and prevent erosion. So that goes all the way there. But it also works as, well, an elephant footpath, and they would have walked down here, and if we carry on down that way, which we probably will, we'll try and follow these elephants, we might follow the exact route that they walked. But look how big their footprints are. Let me stand in one. Now, the track I'm going to stand in looks to be like a female's footprint, or perhaps a young male. But you can see, I can fit both feet in very, very easily. But if we were to find a big male, a big bull's elephant footprints, they will be almost double the size. I can easily stand. Craig could probably put one foot in with me. What size shoes do you wear, Craig?
9 or
9 or a 10, Craig says. So you could probably put my 2 size 7 shoes and one of Craig's 9 or 10 shoe in it, and that would be the size of a big elephant's footprint. So maybe we'll be lucky. Maybe we find a whole breeding herd. Maybe we even find a big elephant bull, which will be a huge surprise because they are amazing on foot. But I think let's follow them. Let's keep walking down along this pathway, which the elephants have now used. Hello, Jonah. Jonah, you're wondering how hot it is. It's exceptionally hot at the moment. It may look like I'm glistening, I'm glowing. I'm not. It's just very hot out here. So, Jonah, it's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. pretty hot, eh? And like I said, we're walking around, so this is a good idea to also visit watering holes on a day like today. Heat like this, well, it's not normal every single day. We're actually coming out of summer now and starting to head into autumn, and it's going to start to get a little bit chillier. And all the animals this evening, or perhaps even now, right now, could be having a drink. So we're going to go and look at some natural pans. This is one of my favorite spots to walk. It's really, really beautiful out here. And we're going to walk on this animal pathway. What birds do we have here? I can hear them calling. Can you hear that? It sounds like hornbills. Craig, can you see them yet? They are hiding in this big knobthorn tree. Let's go walk a little bit closer and see if we can find them. They must be right at the tips and the tops of the branches, which is normally where the hornbills will go. And it sounds like they might be having a territorial dispute. So that bird would want to be on the tops of the trees so that the other bird could see them and say, hey, this is my spot. Let's see, maybe we get a view this side. We've got to be very careful as we're walking through this long grass too, because there could be a buffalo or any animal just sitting down and just in the shade of the tree. Where's this bird? There's one on that tree. There's the one that's calling on the top of that marula tree. That looks like a big male just from the size of his beak. Can you see him? Look how beautiful, hey? So that's not the one that we could hear calling. He's calling quite a way away. This other one is sitting right at the top of the knobthorn, like I said, and the canopy of leaves is just too dense for us to see up top there. But like you saw there, standing up loud and proud saying, hey, this is my area over here. Now we're going to keep going, we're going to keep walking along this animal pathway. We might actually have to be a little bit quiet. It's very thick here to make sure that we stay nice and safe. But you're going to go across now to Tristan, who's looking at one of the bigger dams.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari from me, Tristan. And on camera today, I've got Lamech. So Lamech is a cameraman that's trying out with us today. So everyone's going to have to be nice and easy on him and be very, very nice to him. And so, as Taylor was mentioning earlier, we've decided because it's such a hot day that we would have come up and checked at Bullfield's Dam. So we're trying to see if there's any sign of anything at the waterhole. And so far, it's been a little bit quiet. There hasn't been too much. But as I say that, a hippo has just popped its head up. So there we go. There's a lone male hippo that's just popped his head, and as that happened, back under again. So we've actually been sitting here for quite a bit and he hasn't been up at all. So that's a nice little surprise and pays lots of dividends for us coming to the waterhole and sitting in the sun for a little bit. There's also some Egyptian geese which are slowly paddling along on the edge of the water there. They are beautiful duck-like birds that we get, and I'm quite envious of them. I would love to be in the water just like they are. So Ashley, you're wondering what it would be like to be out on safari and to work with animals and around animals. Well, Ashley, there's not many things that can describe the feeling. It is an absolutely amazing thing to be a part of this. It's to spend time around wild animals and to see them in their wild state is really something that I can't explain. It just goes right into the core of you, and it makes you just feel so many emotions that you can't normally feel. And it's really something that like I say, I can't even explain it. Just every day getting up and being able to do this is such a special thing. So it is amazing to be out here. Sometimes we take it for granted because we get up every day and we come out and you're around nature all the time, and you just tend to forget about all the little things that go on. We sometimes get a bit focused on the big animals, but it is so incredible to watch how all the animals fit together and how they all will help each other and how they all link in some way. So we're very fortunate to be out here. And in terms of looking after the animals, as it is World Wildlife Day and it's all about conservation, we don't do too much in the way of helping the animals out in looking after them, other than if somebody has tried to hurt them, then we will help them look after them. But us being in places places like this and being able to broadcast all over the world and show the youth of today, as well as all the other viewers that we have, what's going on, and try and educate them about the African wildlife, and hopefully as we grow, maybe wildlife around the world, as to the plight of these animals and the responsibility that we have to look after them and conserve them is really quite something. So that for us, those are the really good things about this job. It's really, really special to be able to share all of this with all of you. Now, I was a little bit naughty. I forgot to welcome our 2 schools that have joined us. I'm sorry about that. It's nice to have you with us, guys. I'm glad that you are here today, and on such a special day as well, because it is World Wildlife Day, which is an amazing concept. And I believe this year's theme is youthful voices and listening to the youth of the world. So it would be amazing to hear from you guys. I would love to hear from you and on your thoughts on what conservation is, and methods of conservation that we have out here, and how we're going to conserve these animals, and just what your thoughts are as the youth. You are in the prime position to tell us what the youth of today is feeling and how you think about wildlife and the conservation of wildlife. So you can send your questions through, ask your teacher, or even send your thoughts through your teacher as well. It would be lovely to hear how you guys feel about everything. Now, I'm up here by this dam not only because of the hippo that was there and the beautiful Egyptian geese, but I'm also up here looking for lions. So I'm going to try and have a look around and see if I can find them. One of the game drives had them this morning, so we're going to try see if we can locate on them. Now, while we do that, let's go back across to my favorite animals.
Absolute one of my favourite animals, and certainly a favourite of, I think, lots of the staff here at Wild Earth. Just after the end of our sunrise safari, after we'd got all of the sort of morning admin out of the way, we all came out to see them once again, and they were all wallowing in the mud. So that's why some of them are actually looking a little bit scruffy. It's because they've been doing what wild dogs love to do, something that hyenas love to do as well, which is to climb into a big puddle of muddy water. It's basically like a spa treatment for them, and of course helps to control external parasites, but most importantly cools them down on these blisteringly hot summer's days. Hello to Emily. Emily, you want to know if we could pet the dogs. Emily, no. Absolutely not. So they're completely wild animals, and even though they might look similar to a domestic dog or a pet dog, they have to be treated with complete respect. And if I were to corner one and try to pet it, if I got out of the car, especially now with this female so close to me, if I got out of the car now, they'd probably run away. And if I were to try and grab one, it would bite me quite hard. So, although wild dogs are not dangerous, there's no recorded cases of them ever attacking a human being, I don't want to go and touch them. I remember we've got dogs and cats have had tens of thousands of years of domestication. They have become pets for human beings. They've become reliant upon us. And I think that's enough, don't you? We've got horses, we've got dogs, we've got cats. We've got enough animals that we don't need to try and tame a wild animal to keep it in a house or to keep it in a garden. Imagine how sad that would be. And that's something we often talk about, is that wild animals shouldn't be pets. Exotic animals should never be kept as pets because we just can't recreate the life that they live in the wild. And it's not fair to them. Even if they're used to you, even if they've become used to human contact, maybe they even become attached to you, it's still actually quite cruel. And I see pictures of people with monkeys as pets, people with pictures with wild cats as a serval, or savanna cats, which is a mixture between a serval and a domestic cat, as pets, and it always makes me really sad because I think about that animal that should be living out here in the wild. These wild dogs can run miles and miles in one day. Right now they're fast asleep because they're tired. They're tired and it's far too hot to go running anywhere, but when they do get up, they go racing through the bush so fast that we can barely keep up with them. Sometimes we don't keep up with them. And they have these massive home ranges, far bigger than your garden, far bigger than your school fields, your sports fields, even bigger than that. So to keep them contained in one area would be a very sad thing indeed. Hello, girl. Up you go. Now, Bella, you want to know why aren't there a lot of wild dogs left? Well, Bella, one of the reasons is because they need such a huge amount of space, and human beings have been very, very bad at sharing. We tend to build more and more farms, more buildings, and we just get further and further into wilderness areas, so their territories are getting smaller. And when we come in, we bring domestic dogs, and domestic dogs carry diseases. And because these wild dogs are such social creatures, you can see they lie on top of each other, gather together. It transmits very quickly. So they get diseases that they're not immune to that make them very, very sick, and they die. And that's one of the big reasons. Then we try to put them in fenced areas where there's lots of lions, and lions will kill wild dogs. All predators will kill other predators. It's not just lions. It's just the way of the world out here. It's to reduce competition. That is their natural instinct. But if you've got too many lions in a small area, your wild dogs or your leopards or your hyenas, those populations are going to suffer as well. So those are some of the reasons why wild dogs need such intensive protection and to be looked after. And of course, as I said, they were also treated as pests by farmers, because farmers were scared that they were going to come and eat all of their livestock because wild dogs are such efficient hunters that they will catch and kill lots of things during the day, and this gave them a really bad reputation. And even at the start, the beginning of this conservation area, when Kruger was first started to be thought about and founded, one of the conservation policies was to go and shoot all the predators, including wild dogs, which is why we're so lucky that our understanding of the balance in nature has changed and improved. Wouldn't it be utterly tragic if there were no more wild dogs? Look how beautiful they are. Look at the amazing patterns on their coat. Each and every one is completely unique. Each one looks different. Now, my favorite thing about wild dogs, apart maybe from the sounds that they make, I love the sounds that they make, is their huge ears. When you get all of them looking at you, it's like a whole load of Mickey Mouses looking at you through the grass. Stephanie, you want to know why do wild dogs have such big ears? Well, it plays a big role in the way in which they hunt and the way in which they find each other again after a hunt. So when they go running through the bush, it's rather chaotic when they're hunting. They don't stalk something altogether, they just run through the bush, and they try and grab whatever they happens to run out in front of them. And what often happens is they get lost, they lose each other, and then having those massive ears that act like radar dishes will help them determine where prey is, and most importantly where the other members of their pack are. Because wild dogs are by nature social predators. They cannot exist without company. And even when they disperse away from their packs, they will disperse in groups rather than on their own. So a wild dog always wants to be with other wild dogs, and they make this amazing contact call. It's a sort of I don't want to do it too loudly, but a whoop, 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 low sound. They make it when they stand on the road or stand on the ground and point their face towards the ground, and then they make that sound. And then you heard earlier those exciting yipping sounds, and that's actually one of the sounds that they make when they beg for food. There you go, Ellen. You wanted to know why they make those noises. So wild dogs are very interesting. They are submissive rather than aggressive. Dylan, you wanted to know why they make those noises. Sorry, Dylan, my apologies. It's because they are quite submissive, and basically what happens is the puppies, when they start to go with the pack will go off and hunt and then bring them food. And even when they're in the den site, the other members of the pack will bring food for the mother and for the puppies. And then they make that sound to basically beg for food, and then the adults will regurgitate whatever they've eaten. So they basically vomit it up, which sounds kind of gross, but when you think about it, it makes sense. Because wild dogs are quite small, so they can't fight off any of the biggest scavengers unless you've got big numbers of them. So rather than trying to either bring the puppies to the kill or trying to take the kill to the puppies, basically what they do is they gobble it up as fast as they can, and then they run back to the den, and then they vomit it up. They can't carry it in a nice Tupperware like we could with our leftovers, so they have to carry it in their stomachs. Our wild dogs aren't rushing around at the moment, although they will a bit later. I'm hoping they're going to go and swim in a pan around here. Let's go and see what's happening at the pan that Taylor's found.
Well, this is exactly the pan that the wild dog should come and swim in. It's perfect. It's just the right amount of deep. Well, actually, I don't know how deep it is because I'm a bit too scared to go in there myself. You don't know what could be lurking in this water. But this is a natural pan, so this wasn't created by us at all. This was created by the animals. So something like a warthog would have found an elephant footprint as it walked through here after a rainy day and thought that it was a nice little hole to wallow in. So it would have wallowed away, and then a family of warthogs would have come through, done the same thing, and then maybe one buffalo, two buffaloes, a rhinoceros, and a hippo, or even an elephant would come through here, and they make it bigger and bigger. And now Akira, I've asked a question on if the elephants would like to go in water, and you're quite right, they do definitely love water. And since we were focusing on elephants this afternoon, that's one of their favorite things to do is swimming. When I was up in Zambia, I've never seen such happy elephants as I've seen as the ones that spent their days swimming in the rivers or to and from the islands to feed on the nice grass. It's pretty amazing, and they're really good swimmers too. They stick their trunks up and they almost snorkel and they swim. It's really incredible to see something like that. Now, there aren't any elephants here, but I think that there were some that came for a drink a little bit earlier today, because all the way down that side, I think it was just a bull, you can see there's a wet patch on the ground. So I reckon that an elephant bull on his own maybe came past to this lovely muddy water. I don't know if he would have drank. He possibly, because it's so dirty and elephants like to drink clean water, probably would have covered himself with some mud, which is really, really good sunscreen. Colin, you're wondering how an elephant sucks up water through its trunk. Pretty easy, like when you use a straw, when you're having a nice cool drink, you put the straw in and you suck up. Essentially, the elephants are doing the same things, but with their nose. So it's almost like they're taking a breath, isn't it? So but then they're able to stop the water from going all the way into their sinuses. It's like a big tank, and you can almost spray it out. So you know those toys that you have when you're swimming in the pool and you want to spray your brother or sister and your friends and you shoot the water out? That's exactly what an elephant's trunk is. It's like a hose pipe, but they have to suck it up. They can suck quite a bit of water up there, anywhere between 10 and 11 liters of water, which is quite a lot, though they mess a lot of it as they're trying to drink and pour it into their mouths. A lot of it goes everywhere. But like I said, this water, they wouldn't want to drink it. They'll just come here and have a little bit of a mud bath. I might actually a little bit later have to put a bit of mud on my face. I put some sunscreen on so that I don't get sunburn, but I feel because it's so hot today and we're all sweating so much that it's probably going to come off of my face in the next 45 minutes. And sunscreen from the earth, which is the mud, is incredible. Come and have a look what these elephants were even doing. And not just elephants, rhinos, buffaloes, even a hippo and a warthog. Can you see all of the mud going down this tree? There's a little bit over here, but this entire tree is actually covered in it. And this one is a better example. You know, it's nice and low. Look at all this crusty mud. I don't know if you'll see it from that side, but there's a lot of crusty mud just on the other side of this branch, which is really cool. You'll have to come all the way around to have a look at it. Here it is. Can you see that? Here it's coming off. Now it's not fresh, so this is old. So after the elephants, the rhinos, the buffalo, they all have a mud bath to cool themselves down. It then dries and goes crusty. If you've ever put mud on your face before, you'll know how tight your skin pulls. And it does the same thing for the animals, but it also suffocates all of the parasites. So the ticks, so the fleas, all of those horrible things that are there feasting on the animal's blood. But when it dries, they come through and they do this. And you can hear that noise. That's exactly what it sounds like. I've once walked around the corner and knew that there was a mammal here, not because I could hear it making its call, because I could hear it eating, but because I could hear it scratching up on the post, and it was a buffalo that just had a wallow. So that's what you can do as well when you're out here, is use your ears pretty well. But this is also a scratching post. So it takes those dead ticks off and rubs that mud nicely into their skin, and off they can go. Now I'm going to quickly loop around, but I'm going to come around to where Craig is. Look at this big fallen thing. Now, I know the schools are on drive, but some of the regular viewers that are also watching may have remembered this big knobthorn used to stand up just in here. And It was loose. Remember, I shook it and a lizard fell out of it? Remember that. This is it. And I said to you it wasn't going to be too long before it eventually falls over. And I think that's what's happened here, is an elephant has come up, had a rub too much and linked too much against it, and it's toppled over into the water. But we're going to carry on searching now for an actual elephant and probably another pan to put some mud on my face. But we haven't seen Tristan for a while yet. I know he was planning on going to look for the lions. I wonder where he is.
So Taylor, we're just looking around trying to find them, and we found where they've been sleeping. You can see the grass has all been flattened, so they were here during the day and they had a really good rest and a nap. Now, given that it is quite hot, I do not think that they would have gone very far at all, so I'm sure that they are somewhere close by here. It's now just a matter of finding them, so we're going to have to check under all the shady trees and check where all the shade is to be able to find them. So I'm just going to do a little loop around here and just check maybe they're here. If not here, then they could have gone for a drink of water. When they do mate, you find that the female does move quite a bit, and then the male will follow, but that is definitely where they were sleeping today. So now it's just a matter of actually finding where they've disappeared to. On conditions like this, being that lions are so lazy, I don't think they will go far. Wilson, you're wondering, how do we know what area needs protection for the animals? Well, a lot of the areas that have been protected already were areas that were marked really long ago by presidents of the countries, knowing full well that as our numbers are growing, so the space for the animals is going to get less and less. And so they demarcated certain areas to be able to protect the wildlife that we have. Now, in terms of these days, when we look at places we want to protect, it's normally places that have very specific type of animals or vegetation that is very rare. So we try and protect animals that are not very common, or types of areas that are not common. So certain types of desert or types of wilderness areas like the savanna bushveld that we're in here. So these are all places that you would want to protect. And then, like I say, certain animals that numbers have decreased, they get protection because they need it. Otherwise they're going to disappear and we're not going to be able to see them anymore. So things like rhinos, elephants, lions, they all need protection because their numbers are declining quite quickly. Right, now I'm just driving on the edge of this open area trying to see if there's any sign of these lions. There's no lion, but I can see a tiny little antelope. You see it just straight through there. It's called a little steenbok. I think you're going to have to go a little bit to your left. Maybe go in a little bit for me. A little bit to your left. There we go. So you can see it just through that gap there is a tiny little steenbok. So that is our smallest antelope. It is very little, and that is a adult, fully grown steenbok. Can you believe it? It looks like a little baby impala. So in terms of a size, that would be the size of a small dog. That's how big that is. And they like to hang around in areas like this where there's lots of long grass that they can hide in so that the predators don't see them. Now this is a little bit too small for the lions, so even if the lions are lying here somewhere, they really wouldn't go after this little steenbok. It's too fast and too small for them, so they would expend too much energy and not get enough back, and that's why they won't chase it. So this little guy is hunted mostly by the faster cat, the cheetah. You'll find the wild dogs that Jamie's got also do hunt these little ones from time to time. But don't worry, these guys are really, really fast. They're an incredibly agile little antelope, and they'll run and they dart from side to side, and it makes it very difficult to catch them. The other thing that they do, which is very, very clever, and it's where they've gotten their name from, so steen is an Afrikaans word for a rock or a brick, and it basically means when these guys are frightened, they'll sit down and they'll bend their neck and tuck themselves into a tight little ball, and it looks like a little rock in the grass, and so they camouflage really, really well, and then the predator walks right past them. Now you can hear the steenbok just ran away, and so the francolin got a little fright. So that's the bird that's making the noises. It saw this thing bounding along and maybe thought it was a predator, and that's why it's flown up and it's squawking, trying to alert everybody that there's been a disturbance. All right, well, talking about steenbok and dogs chasing them, I think let's go back to Jamie while we search for these lions and see what those little dogs are up to.
Oh, speaking of dogs and steenbok, we saw this particular pack of wild dogs with another type of small antelope called a daker a little bit earlier. One of them is up at the moment, so I'm just going to switch off my engine. One of the female that was right next to me moved ever so slightly, so I was able to shift around and reposition so that we're not sitting quite so close to them. Oh, back into the shade again. Now, apparently there are 15 members of this wild dog pack. I can only see 7 that were lying there under the shade of the tree. There they are, over there. I don't know where the rest of them are, and that's why I was driving around. I was just trying to get a chance to see where the rest of them have hidden themselves. Caitlin, you want to know, how do the wild dogs find food? Hold on one second, Caitlin. I'm going to try and get us a better shot. I've moved as well, just so that one of the other vehicles can share the sighting with us. Now, Caitlin, you want to know, how do wild dogs find food? Good question, Caitlin, because they're one of Africa's most effective predators. They're very, very good at finding food for themselves. There you go. Hello, boy. We'll just stay here. He's slightly more jumpy than the rest of the pack, so I'm going to give him a bit more space. You can see he's watching us with his big ears. Caitlin, that goes sneaking through the bush and try to ambush their prey. Wild dogs don't bother with any subtlety. All they do is they run. They'll spread out in a sort of a line almost, and they will just sprint through the bush. And when they do that, especially with big packs, obviously small antelope and scrub hares get a fright. They try to run away, but there's so many dogs around, and they are so quick and have such phenomenal stamina that they just simply cannot get away, and the wild dogs manage to grab them and feed off them. Now, here's the fascinating thing. I told you a little bit about the fact that the adults will go back to the den site and regurgitate for the puppies. Sometimes adults will actually regurgitate for other adults as well. Let's say one of them got a good meal, but the others got separated during the chase, and when they get back, the whole carcass is gone. The wild dogs have eaten it all. Then they will make those begging sounds that you heard earlier, and the adults will regurgitate for them. Very good question, and I apologize, Nina. I should have clarified exactly what I mean. You want to know, what is a den site? Well, a den site is where animals go to have their babies. And if it's a leopard, they'll try and find a nice hidden rocky area, maybe somewhere that's covered over by tree roots or something like that, somewhere properly secret for them to have their babies. Lions as well, very similar places. And with something like, for example, a wild dog or a hyena clan, they will go to a termite mound. So what they'll do is they'll go to a termite mound where there have been holes dug out by either aardvarks, warthogs, porcupines, and so on, and they will go in there. Now just hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, I need to do some shuffling. This is a bit of a narrow road, and there is another vehicle that wants to see. Hold on 1 second. Andrew, if you just stand by there, I'll move so that you can come in where I am. Okay, sorry everybody. We just need to do some shuffling because we have spent a long time with these wild dogs, and there are people that want to come and have a look at them. Imagine how exciting this must be if you are a tourist and you have an opportunity to come and see a view like this one. Must be really, really special. And the nice thing is, of course, the tourists bring in money, and money goes towards conservation of animals. So it fits in really nicely with our theme of World Wildlife Day, because these people are actually helping to pay for the protection of these animals. And I think that's really special, don't you? Sorry, we might have to wait a little bit for another view of the wild dog. Let me see if there's any hiding under the shade here. No problem, Andrew. Ronnie, you want to know what wild dogs are scared of. Sorry, I'm just waving hello to the guests. Ronnie, one of the big things that they're scared of is lions. And Brent actually had a really sad sighting. You haven't met Brent, but Brent had a really, really sad sighting where he saw a lioness kill a wild dog. And as I said earlier, that is basically behavior that is completely natural. It's not that the lioness was being vicious. She had cubs in the area, she was feeling protective, and all predators will kill another predator if they have the opportunity. Lions are the big ones. Other than that, wild dogs are not too scared of other predators because they're pack animals. So even something like a hyena often finds itself in big trouble if it decides to get too close to a wild dog pack. And we've also seen that, wild dogs chasing hyena away. One of the most amazing sightings I ever had, speaking about den sites, was at a hyena den site where wild dogs came running through, and all of the baby hyenas, the hyena cubs, raced into their holes, and then the wild dogs dashed past with all of the other hyenas sort of growling where they were. Unfortunately, the view is a little tricky there. Well done, Dave. You can sort of see him. There he is, just poking its head out. Now, Genesis, you want to know if there are any other animals that are in danger. Genesis, yes, there are lots of other animals that are endangered out here. One is the rhinoceros. The other is an animal called a pangolin. A pangolin is basically a scaly anteater. It looks kind of like a walking artichoke that eats ants, and it is nocturnal, and there is a huge trade in pangolins for their scales to be used in traditional good luck charms and medicine, just in the same way there's a trade in rhino horn to send the rhino horn overseas, something that's very sad. Vultures, lions throughout Africa, elephants throughout Africa, of course, are poached for their tusks, especially in countries, and we're lucky in South Africa, we don't have a massive problem with elephant poaching yet, but especially in countries that have come into civil unrest where there's some kind of a war going on, ivory from elephants' tusks pays for weapons, which is why you find that there's a lot of an increase in poaching. And giraffe are also quite endangered throughout Africa. So all of the animals out here, like all animals everywhere in the world, even if they're not classified yet as endangered or even vulnerable, are under pressure from human beings, constant pressure, just pushing into their space, pushing into their habitat. Now we're going to reposition again now that we've managed to make some space, because I definitely can't see the wild dogs. Now actually, I think we'll discuss this a little bit later, but for now, let's go over to Taylor, who is out on foot.
We are indeed, and we haven't had any luck, sadly, with finding our elephants. We've just had lots and lots of signs that they were once here. And we've got another one. Look at all these things that are on the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are so many of them. Now, if you've been watching for a while, like I know Hampton Oaks often joins in for the school drives, is that you'll remember we've spoken a lot about marula trees. And now that we're sitting here, there's not one marula tree in sight. Can you believe it? But they have this really, really delicious fruit that's high in vitamins, and particularly vitamin C. But inside that marula, there is a seed. And this is the big pit. And you can see that it looks like, look, can I show you what it looks like? It looks like a fish if I do that thing, if I do it that way. Don't you think? Big eyes, and then all you need is a tail and 2 fins, and you have a fish. It's even got a little mouth. No, this one doesn't have a little mouth. Sometimes they have another one, which looks like a mouth. Now, they're really cool because they've got these seeds in here. They're nuts, and you can eat them. But the elephants can't get those out, and it's actually quite difficult for us to take them out too. So we have to break them open with a rock. But something like a squirrel, you can see where it was gnawing. If you look closely over there, a squirrel would have collected this from the elephant dung, and then pulled all the flesh off and the skin off, and then picked the nut out with his sharp little teeth. It would have taken a little bit of time, but they've really perfected taking the nuts out of the marulas, which is really tasty. So that's why these are all here. So there must be a family of squirrels, actually maybe living in these dead trees. See here? There's lots and lots of little holes in this dead tree, and that would make the perfect cavity, the perfect little hole nest for a squirrel or even some birds. But I reckon that's why there are so many marula seeds here. That's just too much of a coincidence. Ashley, you've said that this is fun and, really cool to learn about the different animals, isn't it? It's really nice, and we hope that you can all join us again. So an absolute big thank you to Oakland's... Oh my goodness, look at me. I can't even remember anything that I'm talking about. Oh, Kirsty, I've gone completely blank, and I've just said the school names. I know we've got Hampton Oaks, and I said your name earlier, and I went and I couldn't remember. I'm so sorry, guys. I have to make it up for you next time. And of course, Mount Horeb, thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to interacting with you again. And all your questions were wonderful today. But we're going to say goodbye to all of you, and we'll see you hopefully tomorrow for the sunset. No, tomorrow's Saturday. We won't see you, but we'll see you again sometime soon. But let's go back across to Jamie and the wild dogs.
And we are still here on this magical World Wildlife Day, and we have got such an amazing sight for you. I am astounded. But just quickly, obviously we're still not with the wild dogs. I've made some space for the other vehicles, and we will hopefully go back in as soon as we can. So obviously there's a limit to the number of vehicles that can be there, and lots of people want to see. But just look at this amazing, amazing sight in front of us. James would be flabbergasted, I imagine, with his fascination with these tadpoles. These bullfrog tadpoles, and I'm pretty sure they're African bullfrogs, because this is where all of the fighting was happening after our big rains. They've grown their legs, their tails haven't quite disappeared, but they're already on their way out of the pan that they're in. And I don't blame them, because it is rapidly shrinking. However, they are facing a gauntlet in their mass exodus out of this particular pan, and it is a gauntlet I never would have expected, in the form of these ants. And these ants are gathered round searching for the weakest link, and it's almost as though there's a standoff between these poor half frog, half tadpole things. Froglets, can we call them froglets? Oh, hop away, oh, investigating to see whether or not any of these tadpoles are dead. And if you look a little bit to the right there, Dave, I don't know if you can see a bit to the right there's some unfortunate victims of the ants' carnage. So if you look a little bit upwards, there we go. One froglet that just did not make it. Two froglets that just did not make it. I never ever would have thought about that. As look, they're dragging. Look at the strength of these ants, dragging that massive froglet thing away from the water and towards their nest. This is astounding. I never ever would have thought about ants being a threat to tadpoles, but I suppose it makes total sense. Of course they are. Oh, that frog is still alive. Oh, that's horrible. I hate seeing stuff like that. It's still kicking. Oh, let's not linger too long on that, Dave. Shame. It's trying to fight back, but unfortunately it just doesn't have the strength. And remember how we said it is such a race for survival of these tadpoles when they're laid, and that's why there's that frantic breeding with the bullfrogs where they fight their way for mates. Because the puddles that they lay their eggs in and that the tadpoles hatch in, they shrink so rapidly. And on a day like today, if we get 2 more days like this, no, not even, if we get another day like this, these puddles are going to be gone. And I also can't help but think, imagine the existential crisis a tadpole must go through. I mean, it's worse than being a teenager and all of a sudden facing all of these peculiar hormones and confusion and growing up. Now, all of a sudden, you've gone from a water-based creature that swims around, and now you're developing lungs, you're developing legs, your tail's disappearing. And all of a sudden, you've got this instinct to push out of the water itself and go off in search of other things. What a peculiar experience it must be. This is I can't get over their little leggies working so hard. There's one front runner, 2 front runners over there. And obviously also, the oxygen levels of this water must be getting low. And they can breathe in the air now. But it must be one of the things that pushes them to move out. Look at them surging forward, using each other This is astounding. And this is actually the joy of these live safaris. We saw that amazing bullfrog fight. Taylor had one before I did as well. And it was comical, but it was all part of the sort of the natural life cycle out here. And now we've got the end product right at that crucial point of their metamorphosis. Look at them all, gathered on the edge. I won't, but I could probably sit here all day. Now, speaking of World Wildlife Day, I'm not harping on about it, but it is important. Frogs are also a species that is under severe threat. Frogs are one of your key indicator species. If you have frogs in a water system, chances are that water system is okay in terms of its balance. But if you look at the standoff, and that's just because their skin is so sensitive to any kind of toxins in the water source. And it's one of the things that we've noticed in South Africa with the pollution of our waterways has been the severe drop in the number of frogs. Luckily, that's not something we have to contend with here, but it is a reality. Look at this. Lots and lots of stories, if you go looking for it, about pollution in the Olifants River, which flows right through the Kruger National Park. I can't believe I'm fascinated by these ants and these tadpoles. What do you think is going to be the outcome? There are just so many ants. How does this end? Now, Vulpine Wolf Girl, you wanted to know if they were drop-tailed ants. They're a bit too big for drop-tailed ants. Let me actually try and get a sense of perspective, because I'm busy looking at it through the monitor, and I'm not actually looking properly with my own eyes. My first thought was Polyrhacus ants, not drop-tails. But now I see what you mean about the drop-tailed. Good point. Very good point, Vulpine Wolf Girl. I think you're right. I think they are drop-tailed ants. I just was not paying attention. This is really amazing. I find it amazing anyway. Valid point from Susie, who'd like to know why they're trying to leave the water area without legs. They do have legs. Actually, if you look closely, you will see that they do have tiny, tiny little legs. Look, there's one hopping on the top there in the middle. If you look closely, you'll see their legs. Sorry. It's just their tails that haven't disappeared. But why they're trying to leave at this point, I think they've just run out of food. They've run out of oxygen. The water is now getting thick because it's evaporating, so it's becoming sort of sandier and muddier as the time goes on. And they just feel this drive to get out of here and perhaps towards a slightly bigger pan. And Chloe Lee, you want to know, well, how come I don't help them out if I'm sitting watching them go through the struggle? It's a good point. And it's one of those questions that we're always asked, and it's always a difficult balance to strike. Out here in the greater Kruger, the area is so vast that it is possible to let Mother Nature play out her cycles as she always has done. And so we have a policy of not interfering with the animals unless the position that they're in or the damage that's been done to them is caused by human beings. So, for example, if they're exposed to rabies, we will help out because that's been introduced by humans. If they're caught in a snare, we will help them out because that's been introduced by humans, and so on and so forth. But if it is a natural course, we will let it play out. The ants have got to eat too. They have capitalized on a situation that is working out very well for them. There you can see the legs as they hop along. It's always a question that we get asked and always a question that we not struggle with, but sometimes we want to help. Sometimes our desire is to help. It's never nice seeing an animal suffer, but it is part of nature, and if you love nature, you have to like the good with the bad. You can see the way this ant is attacking them. Will any of them get out? I suppose so. Surely with that many numbers, the ants can't eat all of them. But it's who gets to go first. Who's going to be the sacrificial one? In a strange way, for some odd reason, I'm reminded of baby sea turtles trying to hatch and get to the water. I mean, they're not quite as cute, but it's just exactly what comes into my head for some reason. Obviously, it's not seagulls swooping down or crabs, the things that attack the sea turtle babies, but it still feels very similar. These ants are now taken on such a sinister feel, lurking on the water's edge, knowing that the frogs have to come out at some point. Isn't this incredible, Dave?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Taylor's absolutely right. Taylor says the ants are like the seagulls with sea turtles. And you can't hate, obviously you can't really choose sides, although one cannot help but feel sympathy for the little froglets, who haven't even got the strength or the coordination in their legs yet to face this journey. And that's why they're all gathered together. That makes so much more sense now. Cat in Ohio, another very valid point. Don't the adult frogs eat ants? Yes, they do. They eat all sorts of insects. So yes, absolutely. This is the circle of life, at its most circular. The ants eat the baby frogs, the adult frogs eat the ants. That is a very good point. Gosh. Look at them scrambling. They developed so quickly. When did Dineo come through? Does anyone remember? Help me, Dave. You and I were together at that bullfrog sighting. 2 weeks ago? Was it not more?
2 and a bit.
2 and a bit. When Dineo passed through and we had all that rain and we saw those bullfrogs fighting. It was before the end of the TV show, wasn't it? It was before the last TV show, which finished on the 20th of Feb. Okay, so 3-ish weeks ago. So it takes 3 weeks, there you go, perfect aging. Roughly 3 weeks from laying the eggs to reaching this point where the froglets have their legs but haven't got rid of their tails yet. Yes, Kingfisher, I know we're paying more attention to the frogs. Another really good question from Kat in Tampa. Do they grow into their tails, or does the tail sort of get sucked up and merged into their bodies? A little bit of both, but really it's the tail being reabsorbed into the body itself, as far as I understand it. So they will grow, certainly, and that will certainly take up a little bit of their tails, but they'll reuse and reabsorb the energy required for that growth from their tails. So there we go, that's the goal. That other pan. Sorry, I have a friend on my leg. I'll show you in a second.
I saw him this morning.
Did you see him this morning? He's still here.
But he probably disappearing.
Oh, well, there he is. There you go. Isn't that a beautiful mantid? That is so beautiful. Hello, my friend. Are you on my leg? Yes. You know, this is a decidedly uncomfortable position for myself, and, well, you seem to be okay with it. Me, on the other hand, it's quite uncomfortable, and the dashboard is digging into my Achilles tendon. Would you mind coming onto my hand instead? Yes? Yes? Here we go. That's much more comfortable for both me and probably the mantid as well, because I can't vouch for the state of my feet at this temperature. Is gorgeous. Colouring on that. Surely this is a mantid that would disappear very easily on lichen. Surely that would be the best camouflage spot for it. They're always so sinister looking. Beautiful. I'm just going to turn it slightly, Dave. You can get an idea that it's got sort of basically transparent wings. It is really, truly gorgeous. Look at that. The colour of its wings. Beautiful. Okay. What shall we do with you? First you were on Brent's leg, now you're on my leg. Where would you like to be? What would your ideal wish be? How about I put you here on my monitor and you can watch what goes on? How does that sound? Yes? Yes. Definitely nodded. Definitely nodded. It's my birthday, I'm allowed to be quirky. There we go. Gone. After all that, Mia wanted to know why aren't the birds going after the tadpoles. I don't know, Mia. That is a very good question. Perhaps they just haven't been spotted yet. Perhaps life could just not bring itself to be that unfair that they have to face ants from the side and attack from above. I don't think they've been spotted because I'm sure there are birds out here that would make an absolute meal of these tadpoles, including a kingfisher, although I think these might be a little bit big for kingfishers. I'm going to have to move, everybody. Andrew's coming to say hello to us. Let me just shift out of your way. This has been fascinating. Wild dogs, froglets. Let's go and see how Tristan's lion search is going.
Well, Jamie, the search is not going well. It's so far no sign of them. I'm sure that if they've moved from the area that they were in, it's to go and find water. Now, the problem is, after all the rain we've had, we're riding along parallel with a riverbed at the moment, or drainage line, that goes into Buffelshoek Dam, and there's lots of water all over the place. So they could be at any of these little water points. So I'm just trying to see if I can find little gaps where I can have a look and have a little check out to see if they've maybe come this way for water. If they are not here, which let's hope that they are here, if they're not, then I'm going to check the boundary with Torchwood and Buffelshoek just to see if maybe they've crossed north or east and out of our area. But I'm very surprised that they've moved because it's so warm today that it's not great weather for lions to be moving. But the thing is that when a male is trying to mate with a female, sometimes she's not interested in any way whatsoever, and she then will get up and move and walk quite fast to try and lose the male. So that's if she's not really wanting to mate. So they can move a little bit with that, but you can, where they were lying for the day, you can see they spend most of the day there because the grass is absolutely flattened in varying places around the tree. They obviously moved as the sun was moving because the sun would have come from this side and come around, so they've moved around the tree in exactly the same way to try and get into that shade. And I think what's happened is, I was having a look, is they got to a certain point and then I think they ran out of shade, and that's maybe why they've gotten up and moved. But still no sign of them here. I did check another little water hole that I thought they might have gone to. That's just off the fire break close to where we are here. And they definitely did not drink there. So if they did go to water, it's got to be in this little drainage area that we're in. It's right where the Nkuhumas spent most of last week as well. So I checked all those areas in case they picked up the scent of those Nkuhumas from last week. And they didn't go there either. So not quite sure at this stage, but like I say, there's somewhere in this mess of little tight riverbeds and thickets. I'm sure they found a cozy little spot for a romantic weekend away. Oh, sorry. So we're in Jigger today, and Jigger has got a slightly different clutch to Wendy, who I've been driving mostly in the last few weeks. So it's all still getting used to Jigger at this stage. But there's a nice prominent game path as we're going along here that I'm following. And every now and then I'm just having a look down, just trying to see if there's any signs of them walking in this area, but I haven't as yet seen anything. And it's starting to get a little bit too thick for us to even get through here, so I'm going to start opting for sanctity and going up back towards the fire break. Now we followed these drainage lines all the way from Buffelshoek Dam, and we've come out at the mud wallow that I was talking about earlier that is on the fire break, so all the way along. Now, if we had to go where they were lying earlier today, it is directly south of this, so this would be the perfect place. And like I said, we followed this all along. Now there is another one just on the other side, so they might still be in that one, and that could be where they are, but they're definitely not anywhere near here. So we're going to try and just loop around one more time and see if there's any sign of them. If there isn't, then I think we're going to carry on and come back a little bit later when it gets a bit cooler and see if maybe we can switch off and listen. If they are mating, then there's going to be a lot of audio for them. They're going to make a lot of noise, and it'll be a lot easier to find them then. Also, with the cooler weather, maybe they become a little bit more active and come out of the thicket that they're currently hiding in. It's also, after this rain, the grass has gotten so long that a lioness or a lion can be lying absolutely flat, and unless there's a leg in the air like the lions like to lie, or they are in some way got their head up in some of this grass here, you won't see them at all. They'll be just completely disappear in this, so it's going to be quite tough unless one of them decides to wake up and move, or even better, to mate, because if they mate, then I can hear them. It's much easier to find them. I was hoping secretly that they were going to just be lying right out at Buffelshoek Dam on the dam wall, all regally posed, but I guess in this heat that's asking a little bit too much. Now, Kirsty's saying to me that a lot of you are intrigued at the thought of mating lions. Now, I'm not sure who exactly it is. I'm sure the male is a Birmingham. Well, I would like to think it's a Birmingham. Well, so Debbie from Vancouver, there we go, we're just going to get into this now. So I would imagine that it is a Birmingham boy. That would be my first guess in terms of the male. The female for me should be an Inkohuma female, given that they've spent quite a bit of time in this area recently, which will be interesting. But the Inkohumas, judging by all the scars and scrapes that they've got on them at the moment, could very well be that they've had a few altercations with the torchwood or Talamati prides, and they've been pushed a little bit, and maybe one of the Talamati females has ended up moving into this section, and that's who is here. So it'll be very interesting to find out who exactly this is and what they're up to. But all I know is Steph just told me it was a male and a female. He didn't tell me exactly who they were, and he was on walk, so he's not going to get too close to mate while on a bushwalk. Alright, so we're going to continue our search, and while we do this and try and solve the mystery that is our lions this afternoon, let's go across to Taylor and see what she's up to on her bushwalk.
We are approaching Twin Dams at the moment. My English is atrocious today. And I'm hoping that we're going to find Boris the Blade, the crocodile, out basking in the sun. But let's keep walking. And we've also come here. There's a couple of things as to why we've decided to come down this way. Firstly, for Boris, it would be nice to see him other than just his eyes and his nostrils poking out above the water. We came to check if the leopard cubs have perhaps crossed back into Djuma because they went south of our traverse this morning. And then the third thing is to find out whether there are any elephants around here. That's our sort of plan, and we're going to have a look around here. If that doesn't work, then we're going to go west or northwest, and hopefully we will find some giraffe, because we've been seeing a lot of giraffe between Twin Dams, Weaver's Nest, Treehouse Dam, all of these roads here. And I even saw one just off of Shibamo yesterday too, but we did see some this morning, so we know sort of where to look. I think let's take actually let's go this way around. And the reason why I want to do this way is because we're higher up, and I know that Boris likes to bask just down over there, and if we go that way I think he'll spot us, so we can maybe sneak around some of these leaves. But we're going to have to start to be a little bit more quieter. I've got to stop shouting now as we walk around here. My voice is very loud, because if he gets any wind of us when he is close to water, he will try and, well, swim into a place where he feels a little bit safe. It's quite intimidating to have people on foot, though we've had a couple of amazing sightings with him. We had one, and so did Brent, and he was fairly relaxed too. But I've noticed that when he's near this water and he has got an opportunity to go in the water and swim away, he will. He does that with the cars quite a bit. But maybe we'll see. Maybe he'll be different on foot. Now we've just got to be careful, because every time I've come through here in the cars, I've always bumped into a single buffalo walking on this exact pathway, but I haven't seen any tracks this afternoon, so we might be a little bit lucky, which should be great, because that's the last thing that I want to bump into is one buffalo all on its own. I prefer to bump into a herd of buffaloes. Hang on, as we walk here, let's check these Wiltherias for those mantises. Those flower mantises. They're very difficult to spot. They're very camouflaged. I know you had a mantis with Jamie. I'm not sure what type of mantis she had. If it was indeed the very camouflaged ones that look like flowers, because they seem to be all about at the moment. So you'll see. Oh, okay. So Kirsty's just said it wasn't a flower mantis. Okay, that's good. Maybe we can find a different one. And we've actually been having lots of fun with the mantises at the moment, especially around camp, as we've got lights and with all the electricity, and it's attracting a lot of the smaller insects which the praying mantises are feeding on. So we're seeing, I don't even know what they're called, if they're called giant mantises, but they're massive. They're at the length of my hand, which is quite impressive. And to hold one of those is actually quite intimidating. Craig is the praying mantis whisperer. David, hello. You're wondering what is the difference between a mantis and a mantid? I'm not sure, but they are called praying mantis. Is it maybe the plural? A mantis and many mantid? I've actually got absolutely no idea what the difference is there. You'll have to have a quick look on the interweb as to see what the differences between the two are. I'm trying to think, because you don't call any of the younger stages mantas. You call them nymphs. So they become... Hang on, I just heard a noise. And when you hear a noise out in the bush, you actually have to listen to it. Let's just quickly check the wind. I don't know what it was. Rexon seems very relaxed up in front. Okay. Wind is blowing down to the west. Okay. Yes, as guides we've evolved from the sock to the eyedropper bottle, because this way it doesn't leak everywhere and ruin anything in your backpack or ruin your clothes if you tie it to your belt. I prefer this. And I just think it's not very modern, not much more modern than a sock. And so I'm not sure what the difference is there, but we'll have a look. And if anybody does know the answer, please share it with us. #SafariLive on Twitter. And it would be great to hear from you. It's impossible to know everything out here. And, well, we all learn together, don't we? We're at the dam. Let's start walking straight towards the water's edge now. And what we'll do is we've got lots of biting flies on me this afternoon, which is lovely. No worry bush just yet, but there's some worries down there. So I think we'll take a branch so that I can swat flies and then swat Craig when he walks too slowly. And then also, hopefully we'll sneak up on this crocodile. Let's have a look. And I'm so glad that the carrot seed grass is gone, because it's not in my shoes anymore and in my socks, which is wonderful. Come, Craig. Come, Craig. Now, straight away, he normally likes to bask just here, just on the sandy patch, just as the grass sort of disappears and it becomes sand. So I don't see him. So I wonder if he's still lurking over here. Maybe even the sun was too much for him today, and he's decided to stick in the shade a bit. We'll just creep a little bit closer down here. And when you are approaching a dam like this, it's actually nice to make use of these shrubs and this bit of cover, because if you were to come around the other side, you can see now that there's lots of big gaps that you would be exposed by, and you can't really see around all the corners. You see there, you'll show yourself, whereas the way we've come, it's quite nice. We've hopped behind shrub to shrub, and we're only just starting to see the water now. But then we'll also be on higher ground, which is something you must definitely keep in mind. Especially if you come across to a watering point, you find yourselves, you could run into a herd of a big group of animals, not just individuals. And you want to have an upper advantage. You don't want to surprise anybody. So this is quite nice with all these shrubberies. Have a look. Also make sure that there's no lions laying underneath the shade of the tree. Got to be careful. Let's see. There he is. There's Boris. You see him? just in the middle. Not basking at all. He's just gone under the water. You probably just see ripples. You might be able to hear the Egyptian geese squawking at us. Let's see, he'll come up. He'll definitely pop up. There's the Egyptian geese, Mr. and Mrs. Jippo, that live around here. There they go. Now they're alarming at us. They're not alarming at that crocodile. They're shouting, saying, "Oh my gosh, humans have arrived." I don't know why they're so scared of us. We come here all the time, but they'll eventually relax like the leopards can. And our crocodiles is actually not very fond of us today at all. He has completely submerged himself, and well, he's not coming up. So you may not have even seen him. You may have just had a couple of ripples. Let's see, he has to come up though. And he loves this dam, and I hope that it stays full like this, that it holds enough water for this crocodile. They do like a lot more deeper water than a hippo would enjoy, just because it doesn't matter. They'll swim right to the bottom, sit on the bottom. They can go into the middle of the water, and of course they can skim along the surface, whereas hippos, they prefer that shallower water because they're walking along the bottom rather than actually swimming. Come on, Boris. Now, this pan, like I was saying, it's amazing because it's got lots of water in at the moment. I'm not sure how long it's going to stay like this, especially if we're going to have hot days like we did have today. Everybody's going to be drinking lots of water. Water will be evaporating. And Reese, you're actually wondering, how long would a crocodile stay in a pan like this? It depends. We saw Boris in here, I think, for about a week, maybe a week and a half. And then the crocodile actually got up and moved 2 miles. Maybe about 2 miles, I'd be safe to say, to a smaller pan that wasn't that great, had a bit of more mud than water in. Decided that's not going to do it any good, and then went and sat into a drainage line. Then it disappeared. It crossed into Buffels Hook, and eventually it's made its way back. Whether it's the same crocodile or not, I'm not sure, but we'll have to wait. We'll see if it's got a pattern. If this crocodile leaves and we find it in the north again, we might find that it's just following a similar route. But after those big rains, this is ideal. There's a lot of animals coming down here to drink. It's perfect. Our crocodile's not playing ball today. It's hiding away from us. And there's potential to have lots of opportunities to catch things, so something to eat. And well, there's enough water. There's a nice sandy bank for it to rest on. Not good quality, unfortunately, for laying eggs. So they'd go to Chitwa for a nesting site. The sand, I don't think, is very soft. It's sort of more like hard clay at the moment, with there not being much water around. And the crocodiles need that loose sort of soil and sand so that they can dig holes and then lay their eggs inside. It seems as though, like I said, have one last look at our crocodile before it ducks. No! Just went under again, as I pointed it out. It seems as though this crocodile can understand English and is a little bit camera shy this afternoon. We'll try again tomorrow morning. Jamie is back with the dogs. I know they were awake earlier. Let's go see what they're up to.
They are wide awake and up and moving once again. Sorry, puppies. These two shot out right next to us. There we go. There they are. And they are up on the move. And this is where things get very exciting as they start to move off. Lovely. And they're going to start hunting. Apparently the rest of the pack has already moved a little bit further to the north. There they go. Slowly but surely. This is very sedate movement for a pack of wild dogs. Not quite willing to get moving just yet. Slow and steady start to the afternoon. The warm-up before the sprint. I'm so glad we're with these creatures for on this particular day. There's something I was going to say. Oh yes, I remember what it was. Brent mentioned this morning the fact that it is now breeding season for wild dogs, mating season. And I noticed when we came back I just brought some of the ladies from FC and the various crew members who don't get to go out on drive as often as we do. Brought them out to come and watch them. And while we were there, we noticed two of them get up and move separate from the rest of the pack. And that seems to be the alpha. One of them's got a big injury on his bottom. That is the alpha male, apparently. So the two of them, the alpha male and the alpha female, are now separating from the rest of the group. And we saw it again when we went to go and see them. Oh, I hear some noises. wet dog smell. Let me make sure I'm not about to reverse into one of them. I'm going to catch up with our wild dogs, but it seems as though Tristan has achieved his goal for the afternoon. Let's go and have a look at those lions.
Well, I'm not so much we achieved. We luckily had some help from Tristan. So Tristan managed to locate them, and they are right where we were, just a little bit further west than where we actually checked. So had we just come along the road, we would have bumped into them. As you can see, they're busy lying right slap bang in the middle of the road. So I wonder if they didn't find water. There's another drainage line just south of us that I did check a little bit, but I obviously didn't check far enough east. And so they obviously crossed from there and have come up and lay on this road. Now, it's difficult to see who it is because at the moment all I've got is their backsides. I can't see much of who these actually are, but we'll try and go around just now. The only thing that I'm worried about is there's a big mound of soil on the other side, and that might obscure their faces a little bit. So we'll sit here for a little bit and just be patient. I'm sure in time we will get lucky and they will stand up, and hopefully we'll even get to see them mating. It would be really, really nice as if we did have them doing a little bit of mating this afternoon, and like I say, that will also help with us being able to identify who they actually are. From their backsides, very, very difficult, that's for sure. Now, this is typical of what I would have expected from them. I would have thought that they would have spent their whole day lying like this, where it's hot and it's been very warm, that it's not really great conditions for lions to be moving. But like I say, with mating, they do get up and move a little bit all the time, so it's probably why they have moved. Now, they're going to rest like this, and I'm sure as it starts to get a little bit cooler, we're going to see these lions start to be able to get up and hopefully mate a little bit and hopefully go for some water. Now, the water hole that we checked just now, that I was saying that this is the little pan, is probably about 400 meters behind us, so it's not far for them to get up and go and have a look. But from their direction that they've traveled during the day today, it looks like they're heading back into Buffelshoek or Torchwood. We're right up in that far corner at the moment, so that's the direction that they look like they're going to be taking. So I don't think these guys will be around tomorrow, unfortunately. But it's really nice that we've got them this afternoon, and if it is one of the Nkuhumas, that's also exciting news, because the Nkuhumas like to den here in Djuma, and so hopefully, if all goes well, then in 95 to 100 days we should end up with little lion cubs running around. And like I say, they do like to den here on Djuma, so they will spend quite a bit of time around here then, and that will hopefully bring the rest of the pride back into the area, and we'll get lots and lots of sightings of them like we did last winter. It seems like this is the Nkuhuma trait. They tend to mate through the summers and then in the winter time back into Djuma where they spend their winters. And it's a good place to be because of all the water that is around the Djuma property. There's lots of little pans around. That sucks in a lot of buffalo bulls that stay through the winter months and small little groupings of buffalo, and so it's a great place for hunting lions to be able to feed their cubs. Also lots of little riverbeds and drainage lines, which are the perfect place for a lioness to put a den site. But what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to try and just reposition ourselves here. So I'm curious, I believe a lot of you are curious as to whether this is amber eyes. Well, I'm quite curious too, so let's see if we can answer the question and just go around and have a little look. So it looks like the biggest of the Birminghams. I can't see nicely, I'm just going to go around, but it looks like the biggest of the Birminghams. So Nena is, I think, his name. I'm still getting used to all the names for these Birminghams. It's when we were guiding at Sumabili, we didn't have names for them, and I know that Brent and Wild Earth came up with some names, and that was kind of just at the end of when we were now really know their names too well. But this is
Hello, look what we've just found. Apologies for Tristan just disappearing like that. Gremlins are out. Now, I've actually picked up this beetle. I'm going to put it back down. Actually, before I do, I'm going to show you. It was I don't know what happened, but I think I rescued it. But it is mating beetles, and I don't want to bother them for too much, like I said. But they've mounted, so should we put them down and see if they actually start mating? I think we should do that. He's been after her, and it looked like, I don't know what happened, but we found them, they were upside down, so I just turned them the right way, trying to figure out what they were doing, and here they are. And let's see if they start mating again, or if they actually, I don't even know if they were mating in the beginning, but they've assumed the position. And this is really, really interesting. This is a beetle I haven't seen for a very long time, but you get many, many different types of beetles, and this particular one is a tok-toki beetle. And then again, within the family of the tok-tokis, you get different subspecies too. Now, the ones that I'm used to in the Eastern Cape are about 3 times their size. They are massive beetles, and you'd always see them coming out just at dusk, just as the sun had fallen, which is really amazing. But what tok-toki beetles do, it's quite cool, is the way that they communicate is that they bang their abdomen on the ground. So sometimes, and I used to get this right in the Eastern Cape, is that I would find one big tok-toki making its way across a pathway, and then I would go with a stick or my finger like that, and you'd wait a little bit, and then the tok-toki would reply by banging its abdomen back on the ground again. It took a bit of practice, but eventually you would get it right. Because remember, even though bird calls, for example, sound the same, each of them are slightly different. And the same goes with beetles. So the way that they communicate, one of the ways, by banging their abdomens on the ground. In the case of the tok-toki beetle, they'll have a different, well, rhythm, I suppose, and song that they would like to sing. So if you could just get it right, however many beats that tok-toki beetle was doing, he genuinely would respond. It almost worked every single time. Like I said, it took a bit of practice in the beginning, but once you got it right, it was really quite something. But I'm actually, you know what I'm going to do? There are people driving up and down here, and they are so small, I don't want them to get squashed. So I just hid them away. Don't tell anybody though. I just pushed them off the road. And underneath the grass there, it was a little bit naughty of me. But it seems as though Tristan has fought off of those gremlins. So let's go back across and figure out who are those lions.
Indeed we have. We've used a bit of ninja skills and gotten rid of the gremlins. No, I lie. We've just reversed a sum total of about 1 meter, and that seems to have done the trick. So from the looks of it, it looks like the youngest female from the Nkuhuma Pride and Nena from the Birmingham Boys, which is quite a nice couple. They're both beautiful lions. I really like this young female. She's got this little pink nose and then these beautiful eyes, and she's gotten really big. She's small when I started to my meet, she always was the tiny of the group, and now she's a really large girl, and it would be difficult to see them apart. In fact, actually, I was watching a clip the other day of her and Amber Eyes walking together down the road, and for those of you that are new viewers and not sure who Amber Eyes is, she's another one of the lionesses from the Nkuhuma Pride, and she's actually a little bit taller than Amber Eyes, so she stands slightly bigger, and look at that, isn't he spectacular? So let's see if they're going to mate. Now he's sniffing. You can see as soon as her tail's up, he's sniffing to see. So you can see she was unhappy with him following her, which is quite typical of these mating lions. You can see he's just walking past the cars there. So we are in an area where we do have commercial operations, and they are going to mate. So I'm going to try and roll forward slightly. There we go. You can see now, watch this process. It will be quite quick, and you can go in a little tighter there, and there we go. So you can listen. Now it doesn't seem like they're actually mating properly. It seems as though it's still a little bit hot and no one's really getting this right too much, so a bit of a failed attempt. But let's just reposition ourselves here. Come on. Jigga, come on. There we go. So Jigga's giving me a little bit of a problem with the reverse gear at the moment, so I'm just trying to get him into it and trying to just reposition ourselves so that we can actually see what's going on, because they lay right behind that other vehicle, which is not ideal. So we're going to try and position ourselves a little bit further afield and give them some room. But it wasn't that spectacular when they came walking past like that. These Birmingham boys are becoming really beautiful. Their manes have gotten massive. And just looking at this Birmingham boy, it's so much darker than what it used to be. He's really getting that black coming through now. And at one point, he used to have a very black stripe straight down the middle of his mane, and the rest was quite gold in color. And now it seems like that black stripe is starting to get bigger and bigger, and it's almost like the mane is starting to become multicolored. But I'm just going to try and see if we can get... So let's see if we can get in here. So I'm just going to try and go down a little bit so we have a better perspective, and then just straighten out so that we don't block the road if they do want to come out. And just go in a little bit closer to them there. Alright, sorry guys. Alright, so we're going to just position here, and that way if they do move, then I can be able to back up with them and be able to follow them along as they go. Now I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen, is we're going to see exactly what we saw just now, where the animals are going to get up, they're going to move, mate, and then down again, up, move, mate, and down again. So this is what we will see quite commonly through the afternoon. But it's really nice to see the two of them heads up, and you can see, look at the size of that male. His mane is becoming massive. He's almost getting a straight hair. It looks like he's had a big perm. I'm sure David Hasselhoff back in the day would be proud of that mane. Now, by the looks of that mating, it didn't seem like she was too interested. She was almost like just doing it because he's following her. Also, given that she is young, she wouldn't have mated too many times before, so this is all a little bit new to her. And he seems thoroughly disinterested. I think it's too hot for him to really concentrate on what he's doing. And so that is why you'll find that it's all a little bit sluggish at this stage and a little bit half-hearted. There wasn't even very much audio. Normally when lions mate, due to the fact that they have this barb on the end of their penis, it often hurts the female, and so you get a lot of growling and carrying on, and then as she turns over and he retracts, so they then have a little bit of a tiff. But that particular one, you could see there was really not too much in the way of aggression or even vocalizing. They were both quite quiet, and by the looks of it, since we had a rear side view, it would look like he didn't actually even penetrate her, which means that he's a little bit half-hearted and a little bit lazy about this whole thing, and I would imagine that he will get it right once it gets cooler and he'll get a little bit more interest. But amazing to see how as soon as she gets moving and she gets going, this male's up and following her. He doesn't want to let her out of his sight. And the other interesting thing is that you'll find that these lions will be very quiet tonight in terms of roaring. This male's not going to roar very much because he doesn't want to attract attention from his brothers. So if, let's say, he had to roar, the other males will then start to come, and they will come and try and get the female from him. So you'll find that he'll get more competition. So better to stay quiet, do the mating in a quiet manner, and therefore you don't have to worry too much about competition. But look at her leg there on the side. You can see it's going in and out quite quickly, so it gives you an idea of how warm it is. It's very muggy this afternoon and humid. It feels quite sticky and the air feels close, and if you're a lioness or a lion that's covered in fur, it must be very uncomfortable. My boy, you're now blocking our view completely. So the problem where they're lying at the moment is that the road goes in a little bit, and on the sides is quite steep, so parking on the top there is very difficult because you don't see anything with all the grass. We'll just see his mane sticking out. So hopefully what's going to happen is she's going to get up and move towards us, and then he will follow in behind her and we'll be able to see their faces quite nicely. But for now, what we're going to get is a backside view of this male lion as he watches over his female. He's going to make sure that nothing gets too close. But I was quite interested just to watch also the way that he is around the vehicles. He walked right between myself and Abel, and he was fairly relaxed. She was a little bit kind of growly at his approach as he was following in behind her, but he was very chilled. So it was quite nice to see him up close. I haven't seen him in a long time, and he's looking great. Right, we're going to see now if these two are going to carry on with their romantic afternoon, and if they are going to start facing us for a better picture. And while we do that, let's go have a look at Jamie's dogs.
Our dogs are on the move and leading us through some very, very interesting places. Everybody hold on, we might get stuck, we may not. I'm just going to take my foot off the clutch and hope for the best. Here we go. Are we through? Yes, we are. For our new viewers, you will see us driving over some trees during this chase. There's some dogs on my left. There's a dog ahead of me. Sorry, Dave. There's dogs everywhere. You will see us driving over some trees. You don't need to worry. We're very careful about the species that we do drive over. We'll go for young saplings and trees that will spring up and that are common species out here and not vital to the holding together of the soil. There are certain trees that we absolutely will not drive over. Okay. Oh, hi. Hello, sweetheart. I nearly touched her. She came yelping past the front of our vehicle. That is amazing. She nearly touched she basically scraped the side of the car. Hello, girl. Little squeak to ask the others where they are and where they're going. Okay, I'm going to start moving now because from experience, letting them get too far ahead is a very poor decision indeed. They moved much earlier than I thought they were going to. Thank goodness we were already on our way back, because nobody but us feels intrepid this afternoon in terms of following them. We got this, Dave. We got it. Let's give them a little bit of space so that they don't separate. There we go, there's another vehicle there. That's wonderful news. Mohammed in Doha, lovely to have you on board. I hope you're enjoying the frantic chase. Mohammed, you want to know what is threatening the population of wild dogs? The answer is a couple of things: loss of habitat, overpopulation with lions in certain areas, and the spread of disease. The spread of disease is a big one because they're so closely related to domestic dogs. They're not domestic dogs, but they are closely related. They are able to get diseases transmitted by domestic dogs themselves. Rabies, canine distemper. These are all things that can be transmitted. Let's do a head count. Well, I'm going to do a head count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Awesome. What a spectacular image this evening. That is so beautiful. Okay, we're going to try and get in front of them. We do have the VR on the front of our vehicle, and this is a very unique opportunity. Here comes 13, 14, and 15. This is a really unique opportunity, so I might start presenting to the VR, and never fear, we'll still be taking your questions. I just might be ignoring you briefly, but I will still be here with you. You get to see some behind-the-scenes filming. Hey, Rollo. Oh yeah, Rollo's on the back of the vehicle with me. He's in charge of the VR. I thought I saw him turn several shades whiter than his natural British complexion as we did that mad off-road chase. But he seems to have recovered nicely. There's some color back in his cheeks. That might just be the temperature. This is awesome. Thanks, M4. You can go if you want. You happy? Thank you. Thanks, guys. I can smell the wild dogs. It's such a unique scent. I love it. It's dirty, smelly, and I love it. Hold on, everybody. Rusty won't go into fourth. Rusty's just going to have to. Hold on. Rollo, are you ready? Yes. Yep. Good. And we're going to try and catch them up here. The grass is so long, I can't see. Please don't have turned off yet. Here we go, here we go. There's the alpha male. He's the one with the injury on his backside there. So here comes an entire pack of Africa's second most endangered predator. They're going to walk right past our vehicle. What a special sight this is. They're so close I can smell them. I could touch them if I reached my hand over the side of the vehicle. Look at them. This is absolutely phenomenal. Oh, this afternoon they're going to head out. They're going to start hunting. They're splitting up all around us and moving right past us. The way that wild dogs hunt is that they course through the vegetation, seeking out any secret antelope that might be trying to hide away. One of Africa's most effective predators, and one with the most fascinating social structure. In this entire pack, there's an elephant coming as well. This could be very interesting. We might need to move. There's an elephant coming. They don't like wild dogs. How is this going to play out? Here they come, all the way around past us. This elephant's going to start charging any second now. I'm going to try and reposition very shortly. The dogs are very close next to me. It's not an ideal position to be in. Dogs, you've got me into trouble here. Okay, we don't want to be part of misplaced aggression with this elephant. But we can't move and risk hurting the dogs. Okay, now, I'm here too. I'm here too. Okay. Dogs? Oh. Hey! Okay, we're going to turn around. We're going to watch it chase the dogs. Here it goes for it. We had to get out of the way there. You can see the aggression from the elephant. Look at this. Look at him racing after them. It's a young bull. Elephants just don't like wild dogs. He's sprinting after them. We've got to be careful with elephants. We're okay with a bull, but if it were a breeding herd, we would actually have been in serious trouble there. Okay. Let's catch up with them. Elephants hate wild dogs. Whether it's their smell, they're not a threat to them at all. But they are, what we don't want is to be part of the misplaced aggression from the elephant bull, which is what's happening over there. Okay, let's move along here. The dogs are walking along here. I'm going to keep an eye on this elephant as well. How incredible was that? Hey Dave, how's your heart rate? Mine's pretty high, I'm not going to lie. That was so cool. Dogs right next to us, elephant right next to us. It doesn't get better than this. Happy birthday, Jamie! I'll watch this elephant now. I'm just letting the other vehicle move past. We can't reposition right now. This elephant's going to come charging out of the bushes at us. He still wants to. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit around him. He's such an angry boy. Now don't come take it out of me. I'll be bloody cross with you if you do. Stay there. Okay, let's go through here. Hold on, everybody. Oh, it's a tight gap, but we're gonna do it. And I haven't hit the VR rig once. Yet. That was a bit too soon to start boasting. Hold on. Alright, the dogs have had a chance to get quite a way away from me. Watch out, Rollo. They've got a chance to get quite a way away. So I'm going to send you back to Tristan and those lions. In the meantime, we're going to catch up with our dogs. Hold on.
Well, Jamie, sounds like you're having an absolutely fantastic afternoon with the dogs. And dogs and elephant interaction is always something to watch. They just seems to get completely out of control very quickly, which is complete opposite to what we have here. As you can see, everything is very sedate at the moment, from the chaos of the dogs and elephants to very sleepy, relaxed lions. They've gotten off the road a little bit and they've plonked themselves down in the long grass. Now, I don't know if this is the best idea, because the grass has got lots of parasites, and you can see the male is battling to find a place to actually get comfortable. He had his head up against that tree for a little bit and is now flopped over and trying to find somewhere a little bit better. But I don't think they're going to stay here for very long, because the sun is about to hit them. It's just come out of a little thick bank of cloud and it is very hot on our backs, and so at the moment there's going to be a bit of sun that's about to hit their faces. You can see on the male he's got a bit of that afternoon glow on his face, and so I think they're going to get quite uncomfortable quite quickly, and so I would imagine they're going to get up and move again. And like I say, with this long grass, it's not the most comfortable place for a lion to lie. It's got little seeds poking it in its face. There's all these ticks in the grass at the moment, and those will be climbing all over, particularly a male lion with that long mane that he's got there. It's the perfect place for a tick to latch on, to then be able to start moving around on the body and anchoring itself in to feed off the blood. And you can see all the flies that are landing on him and going off again. Those are all those biting flies, which are the ones that will be driving these lions crazy. They'll be landing around the ears and facial areas, and it hurts quite a bit when they do decide to bite you. But as I was saying earlier, you can see they are very relaxed with these conditions, and the two of them are quite happy just to take it nice and easy. Well, I think we're going to go back to Jamie, and I believe she's caught up with the dogs again, so let's see what's happening there.
This is absolutely spectacular. An entire pack of wild dogs in this gorgeous open area. I've overused the word spectacular several times today, and for that I do apologize. But sometimes, in the heat of the moment, the adjectives just don't come to you. It's better than incredible. Look at that. What a view. That wild dog came and lay right next to us as the elephant was charging them. I'm not going to protect you, buddy. The elephant will go right through me. They've spotted an Inyala, by the way. I think it's an Inyala. It might be a wildebeest. No, I think it's a wildebeest. Oh, this is so stunning. I'm going to move, Dave, just to catch up. Sorry, I know it's a lovely, lovely position, but just so that we've got the complete view with that wildebeest as well. Let's go this way. Oh, wow. There's the wildebeest, and there go the wild dogs. Intense, exciting, athletic. All right, okay, one word tweet. I try not to do it too often, but I have to have one. One word tweet on this World Wildlife Day. How do these creatures make you feel? Dave? Gobsmacked. Me too, Dave. Me too. Pretty gobsmacked right now. Look at the posture of these. They're gonna do it. They're thinking about it. You crazy dogs. Wildebeest not having any of it. He's moving off. Here's that posture, ears flat. Such a typical hunting dog posture when they start to move towards their prey. Red's word is pumped. I hear you, Red. I hear you. Red, and all of you, I'm sorry, there's some housekeeping I've got to take care of. Our stations, I think some of these Madutch will be on Triple M by now. We're at the back with the rest of the pack, but they should cross out just north of that Red Dam Road junction. Dina, you say that your word is exhilarated. Again, agreed. Now this is shortly going to be our last view of them. There are lots of other vehicles that want to come and join us from the western area of the reserve. So they're about to cross onto Arathusa. It's not that they're going... Oh, sorry, Dave. I'm sorry. Let's race for a last view, though, because they're going to be gone so fast. And it's not that they're going out of our traverse area. Ooh. I'm sorry, Rex. You're going to shout at me for that. Needs will as needs must. We'll try and get back to them towards the end of the Sunset Safari, but there are lots and lots of vehicles that traverse that area, and they will be coming to see them. Oh, they've turned north. Okay, I take that back. Janice's one word is wondrous. I agree, Janice. Shanae, you're the only person that I can copy on this channel. The dogs, the Madutch, have turned north now. They're running parallel to Triple M, but probably about 50 meters in. Okay, copy. I think just keep coming north. They might come along that Power Lines Road. Okay, copy. Sorry, everybody. Communicating with the other guides, making sure that Shanae, who is a guide here that many of you will be familiar with. Now I'm just helping them to find these wild dogs, because if you don't call them early enough, the dogs have vanished. Oh, dust, dogs, mud bath, yay! Look at this, how gorgeous. Can you see there, Dave? Look at this. Oh, I'm hot now, need to cool down. Everybody in. Oh, I feel like doing that too. Oh, did you see the spray of water coming from that dog's tail? Impressive. I can say that nobody would ever describe these creatures as boring. That is for sure. Lynn says you say your word is privileged. I know. Especially when they've got that trust lying next to your vehicle like that. Trust or... Oh, look at these two. I hope you're getting some amazing screenshots. We are privileged, Lynn. They're so waterlogged. Now, Andreen, you say your word is sad because you can't be here in person. I hear you, Andreen. We're very, very lucky to be able to see stuff like this. However, I'm really glad that we're perhaps able to bring you the next best thing. Watching it happen live. That's how I feel anyway. Alright, as they start to go through this bush, if they start to continue through this bush, it'll be the last view of them. There are lots of other vehicles waiting to see, and they're actually now at the boundary with Simbambili, so it looks as though they might cross in there. Thank you, dogs, for a really, truly amazing afternoon. Somebody having a big shake. Get the water off those ears. Their tails look so bedraggled when they've been swimming. They look ridiculous. Look at that. What's that? Not their normal feather duster white. Those ears. And we think this is the Sands pack. It's definitely not the Investec pack. There's no collared animals, so there's no collared dogs. I'm pretty sure that it is the Sands pack. And we did also chat to the guys from EWT about them. Quick, one last view, everybody. And then Jamie's going to go collapse somewhere. Stall! Wait! The day is not yet over. They're going towards an open area. I know. I thought the same thing, Larry. They didn't give themselves a good shake, like a domestic dog would. Oh, angry mongoose just went churr. I suppose I would too if a pack of wild dogs came running through and I was mongoose side. Here we go. Still got him. This has actually been quite a sedate wild dog chase, in a way. I mean, I'm sure that Dave's bottom disagrees with me, it having left the surface of his seat several times this afternoon. Or it wasn't completely manic. Whew. Yeah. Let's reposition. Mia, in Illinois? Yeah. I think this is what I would have wished for my birthday. I don't think it's really possible to have a much better birthday present. Taylor's and Brian's rap was amazing, and it was a lovely birthday gift. But this is pretty hard to beat. Hey Dave, it's not even your birthday.
No, I'm just like I'm with you.
Bounce, bounce, bounce. What you after? What are they after? They're all running forward now. There might be some impala in this area. They do like to eat impala. And this herd does spend a bit of time here. Oh no, hold on, we've all stopped again. There is a gentle smell of smoke. I'm not sure whether it's coming from my vehicle or the other guys. I think we're okay. I was going to say something. Oh yes, is this what I would have wished for my birthday present? Yes, especially because it's actually World Wildlife Day. Most definitely. And probably the latter takes a slightly higher priority. A much higher priority. Debbie in Vancouver would like to hear the VR guys, one word. His name is Rollo, and he's looking at me. What would your one word be?
Outrageous?
Outrageous. There you go. Outrageous is Rollo, also known as the VR guys, one word. There was a moment where one snuck up behind us where I thought Rollo was going to jump out of his skin. Not because he's scared of the wild dogs, but just because she really came as a surprise, didn't she? She was so close we could have touched her. In fact, that happened to me several times today. I could have reached out and raked my fingers along their fur. Hello, where'd you come from? Eh? Trotting down the road towards us? What you got to say for yourself? Sorry. Oh, and gone. Making Dave work. You can't see it, but the shuffling around, these vehicles are not built for two people on the back. The interesting shuffling that happens during a wild dog sighting is entertaining. Let's just put it that way. Okay, hold on. I'm going to... No, there we go. All right. I'm going to catch up with our wild dogs for as long as I can. In the meantime, apparently Taylor's found something birthday inspired.
I'm not showing you that yet. Come and have a look what I have got over here. Where did you go? No, of course I've forgotten where it is. Here it is. Haha. It's a wee little caterpillar. Look how pretty it is. Very hairy. Not one that you would want to touch. Most likely those hairs covering its body will make you very, very itchy as a defense, because this little caterpillar on its own is not much. But it is very small still, and it is feeding on a bush willow, on a variable bush willow. And it's unusual now because we're coming so late into the year. The hot weather is very, very slowly disappearing, and most of the caterpillars have already pupated and turned into butterflies or moths. So this one better get eating. It has got a long way to go, hasn't it? But let me show you what I've really been working on. That was just to incorporate some insect life. We've been working very hard all afternoon on this. Pile of elephant dung, some candles. The grasses are the candles. Got to stick that in. And then I've got an array of beautiful flowers. So Jamie, this is my last birthday present to you while we're out on safari. I'm not going to try and sing again because I fear as though I will not be as good as I was this morning. Though that was really interesting to laugh. But this is very cool. But now the most important thing about this is that you have a good night and a good day, and we play lots of games this evening, which will be lots of fun, I'm sure. But the most important part is that Craig has a piece of this cake. Come on, Craig. Come on, Craig. Here we go. Let me pull a piece off. Do you want some of the flowers? Yes, you want some of the flowers. We'll give you some, Craig. It's a lovely little... That's a beautiful piece for such a big man. Come, Craig, eat the cake. Craig is eating the cake. He loves it so much. He said it was the best elephant poo cake he's ever had in his entire life. Now we're being ridiculous. Let me get off of the sand. And now I am now covered in sand, as you can see, which is actually really, really nice because I was wanting to exfoliate. So we'll just give it a good rub. Get it off. It's now attached to my body. It's lovely. It helps with the itchy bites. It's actually quite nice. I recommend that if you've been attacked by mosquitoes, what you should do is lay in some sand if you are feeling a bit itchy. Never mind the bark off of the marula or the cambium layer, and just get right in there. And I've got sand all over my face as well. Just get it everywhere. But we're bumbling along. We actually have to pick up the pace slightly. We're a little bit far away from home, and the sun is going down. We're in Weaver's Nest at the moment, but we haven't got too far. We might just make it back to quarantine in time before it gets too dark. And everybody, well, all the insects are going to bed now. The birds are starting to give off their final call. Perhaps we'll have a look at a sunset in a moment. We'll try to get up on a termite mound somewhere. But we're going to go back across now to Tristan, who is still sitting with those big cats.
We are indeed, and they are still very, very flat. Now, I've just had a little look over my shoulder now that Taylor's mentioned the sunsets, and I tell you what, she's going to have a tough job of finding that sunset because it's gone behind a big, thick bank of cloud, and so I don't think there's actually going to be too much of a sunset, but good luck to Taylor. Also, she's quite brave asking Craig the Batman to eat elephant dung cake. Batman has lots of ninja skills, and he was not somebody you would want to play a trick on, so I would be careful if I were you, Taylor. Craig seems like the sneaky type that would maybe be able to get you in the middle of the night when you least expect it, so I wouldn't want to be there. But like I was saying, the lions are very, very flat at the moment. They're not really doing too much. They've been quite quiet, and I think they're just really trying to sleep off the last of this heat. Slowly but surely now the temperature is just dropping and it's starting to become a lot better, and I think these lions eventually are going to start getting a little bit more active. Like I say, now that they've found themselves in this carpet of grass, they're pretty happy. Also, the sun going behind that bank of cloud now means that at the end of the day they no longer have the sun beating down on them, and that's why they can lie right out in the open like they are now without being too hot. So Victoria, you want to know how long they will be staying together. Well, it depends. There's a number of factors that could influence how long they stay together. It could be another one of the Birminghams could arrive and there could be a little altercation and that male then takes over. It could also be that this female is in a false estrus and she's just bumped into this male, and so for safety reasons she's just gone into this false estrus cycle and pretending to mate with him in order to not get attacked by him. So it could be that. But if it is proper mating, then generally it's about a 3 to 4 day, maybe 2 days, depending on how long they have been together. But I know that the 4 males were seen, I think, 2 days ago together, so she can't have been with them for too long. So I would imagine probably another 2 days of this, and they will stay together for those 2 days and eventually then break apart and carry on. And I'm really interested to know where Amber Eyes is, because this young female and Amber Eyes, who's the other female that's been walking around together, they were seen apart from the Nkuhumas for a number of weeks now. And I wonder where Amber Eyes is. I wonder if she's not maybe with another one of the Birminghams mating somewhere. That would be quite interesting. It would be really nice if we found the 4 of them in the morning. Imagine 2 Birminghams, Amber Eyes and the young female all mating. That would be quite something. But I haven't heard any reports of anyone finding any other mating lions or any of the Birminghams this afternoon, so I'm not quite sure where they actually are at the moment. I think Steph did tell me this morning that he had tracks for 2 of the Birminghams going west into Simamili Arathusa area, so that leaves 1 still remaining. Maybe that's the one that's with Amber Eyes, and hopefully this young lioness will be able to find the rest of the pride quite quickly. It can be quite daunting for a young female to be on her own, and especially once they break apart from this mating saga, for her to be by herself is not going to be easy. She's going to have to deal with a lot of stresses and strains, and it's going to be nerve-wracking to try and find the rest of her pride. That, coupled with the fact that the pride has been having a few run-ins, like we were talking about earlier, lots of scrapes and scars on them at the moment, so it seems like they have been fighting with other lions, might stress her out a little bit. But hopefully through vocalizing and roaring, she'll be able to then contact call and make contact with the pride and find one another. But you would be given to be thinking that she may be dead. Even her breathing has become very, very slow in comparison to what it was earlier. Earlier they were panting quite heavy. There was quite a big movement in that diaphragm, and you could see the stomach rising and falling and the rib cage rising and falling. And now, because it's cooled off quite nicely, you can see her breathing has become a lot more relaxed, and it almost looks like she's not alive, other than that ear flicking. I can tell you the biting flies are out in full force. I'm being attacked by them as well. They've bitten me on my legs and on my arms, so I feel for you, my girl. I'm sorry that that's happening. It's not very comfortable, I know. Although she doesn't look too fussed by it, does she? She's kind of passed out and still sleeping, and he is very much the same as well. As you can see, a very similar situation. His rate of breathing is also slowed right down, and ear is flicking every now and then, but otherwise they are deathly still. So HLG, it's an interesting question. You want to know whether anything will prey on a single lioness moving around. Well, I suppose hyenas could be a threat. Whether or not they're preying on a lioness is a different thing, but taking the opportunity to attack a lion, yes, they would. If a clan of hyena comes across a young female like this, they definitely know that they would be able to attack that female and probably win that battle, because that female is going to lack experience. And funny enough, I've actually seen this particular pride and this particular female chased up a tree by hyenas. That clan was 28 female hyenas that chased them up, and they all went into trees, the whole pride. But there will still be those scars from that interaction, and so she'll probably be quite nervous of hyenas. So hyenas could be a threat. Other prides of lions, if she stumbled into the Styx pride in the south potentially, or the Talamati pride or the Torchwood pride by herself, they could attack her. So yes, she does have some animals, but whether or not they'll prey on her is negligible. Well, not negligible, debatable, should I say. They often will be just a victim of circumstance where they get attacked by whatever is in the area that they've stumbled into, rather than actually being preyed upon. But hyenas and other lions is the short answer to that. Right, so we're going to hope that these two decide to start stirring, and while they lie here and we wait, let's go back to Jamie, who's still got the dogs.
Well, the bad news is that there is no bad news, and the good news is that the wild dogs decided to come back onto Djuma. So we've had about 5 last views of the wild dogs before they've crossed, and every time has proved to be a complete falsehood. And they're going straight towards that Tambuti thicket, the Tambuti thicket of my nightmares, where the Nkukumas would disappear into, or did disappear into, for 2 days this week. They aren't still there, I will say, which is good news for the wild dogs. Wait, are there more going to pop out? Now, Mary, you want to know what happens if the alpha male or female gets too old. I'm going to have to go around here. I definitely can't go through it. Mary, they will be replaced, and that is where you might, the only time you might get a little bit of aggression in a wild dog pack will be where you have replacement of the alphas, or the formation of a pack and the establishment of the alphas. Ah. Hello. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure they're having a lovely afternoon with wild dogs on their way in. It's Mike! Good afternoon, Mike. Good, and you? Sorry, we're going to keep dashing. Did you see the dogs? Awesome. Thank you, Mike. What was I talking about? Oh, alphas. So there might be a little bit of an aggression. Sorry, Mary. There might be a little bit of aggression from the dogs in terms of forming their next alpha pair. But bear in mind that alpha pairs getting too old very seldom actually happens, because there's a massive mortality rate for wild dogs before the age of 5 years old. So the chances of them actually reaching old age is very, very slim. Probably what will be more likely is the alpha female or the alpha male is killed, at which point one of the other dogs will step into the position, perhaps one of the beaters within the wild dog pack. Bless you. They're impala there, and the dogs know it. They can smell them. I can't see them, no, Davy. But I know that they live here. Dominique, no, wild dogs are not found in urban areas all that regularly. You might encounter them particularly in the city of Palabora, which sits right on the border of Kruger. Sometimes they do come through urban areas, but you won't find them denning there or living there in the same way you might with hyena. So no, they won't live in urban areas. And they definitely, which is good for us, because the last thing we want them to do is to come into contact with domestic dogs. Yeah, I'm just going to do some quick VR presenting. Sorry about this, everybody. Over here, we are sitting with a wild dog pack, and they've led us on a wild chase through the bush, and they're now just about to pop out into the road right next to us. There you go, there's a little bit of sniffing going on. Some scent testing. This is wild dog breeding season, and what a perfect sight. seeing these critically endangered wild dogs. Less than 500 of them left in South Africa, and they're just about to trot off to go off in search of dinner. They've so far been unsuccessful. Their stomachs are rumbling, and it's time for the whole pack to work together as a team to catch whatever happens to be unlucky enough to be on their menu. There she goes, and we're going to be following them. And we are going to be following them, as it happens. I'm just taking these opportunities while they're nice and close to the vehicle to present to the virtual reality rig, but you won't miss out on a moment. Pretty sure one vertebra's come out of place when we hit that bump. While we watch our dogs frozen in the search for their meal, let's go over to Tristan with quite a small... I've messed up this link. Let's go over to Tristan with a caterpillar. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, Jamie, I've had a tongue-tied afternoon too. Well, yes, we were trying to reposition for the lions, and sounds like they are up as well, so that's good news. And as we came around, I don't know if any of you can spot it there, but there is the most beautiful caterpillar sitting on the stalk of grass right there. So it is a dice moth caterpillar, and is my favorite caterpillar by far. They have the most incredible markings with that maroon and white stripes with those long little feathery spikes that come off. So really, really beautiful. And they often sit like this with those spikes kind of erected and their body pinched up in the middle. Obviously that's how they move, is that they have legs on the back end and the front end, and they inch their way along these grass stalks. But I'm really surprised to see such a large one right out in the open. They do have aposematic coloration, which means they do display coloration that shows everybody that they're not something to be eaten. So sitting out in the open is not the worst thing for them, but generally they like to be down in the lower depths of the grass. But what a cool find. So just shows you sometimes when you're with these big creatures that it's good to look around a little bit and to search, and you'll find beauty all around you, which is really good. And given that it is World Wildlife Day, it's always nice to have more than just the big cats and predators. So let me carry on with my movement to try and get to where the lions are. They just moved off slightly. Now I don't think they mated. I think the male tried to mate with the female but didn't get any luck, so I'm just going around to where they were heading. Can't even see them in this grass, is so long. I can just see a paw sticking up there. So it's quite funny to see how they disappear in grass like this. But I'm going to go around and just park ahead of them, and like I say, hopefully by the time they decide to actually wake up properly, they'll walk relatively towards us. So they didn't go very far at all. They stood up and lay back down again. I think she's just hot and bothered. Getting here would be in the perfect place to spend the remainder of the afternoon, should they not get up. But you can see now she's even cocked the back leg to be able to get a bit of a breeze over that stomach and just help with the cooling down after this hot afternoon that they've had. Her leg is not wanting to stay up. I think there's a conflict of interest here. The leg muscles are saying no, the brain says yes, and we have a game of back and forth with the leg at this stage. Now hopefully we'll start to see her yawn. If we start to see yawning, then we will know that she's going to get up again. But what is quite incredible is the sunset. So talking of the sunset, I am wrong. Taylor, your sunset is quite spectacular, and I believe you're on a beautiful termite to display that sunset. So let's go over to Taylor and have a look.
I've stood up on a very, very small termite mound, Tristan. So I've got a little bit more of a view than I normally would. And we're just having a last look at the last clouds that have got a bit of color to them. Fortunately, we didn't make it here in time. We were marching, trying to get to the termite mound as quick as we could. but that was not the case this afternoon. We were a little bit slow, but it is beautiful up here. It is hot and humid as ever. The breeze is now completely gone, but there is a little bit of a cool sort of feel out here at the moment, and I hope that we keep getting this cool feel, because I don't know how pleasant it is going to be to sleep in, well, this very, very hot weather. We'll have to go and have a swim a little bit later, I think, and not in a mud wallow in the swimming pool, of course. I think you'd have to be very brave to go and have a swim in a mud wallow during the day, never mind at night time. But it's lovely out here, isn't it? And it's been such a fantastic bushwalk. We've seen so many different things. And well, Craig ate the lovely cake that I baked for Jamie out in the bush. We've seen, well, all sorts of critters, haven't we? But have a quick listen. I don't know how well you can hear, but the birds are all giving their last call. Nope. They've gone completely quiet now. Can you believe that? That is ridiculous. Right, let me come down off of this mound. Well, actually, before I climb down this termite and fall on my bottom, it is, like I said, it's been fantastic, and sadly I couldn't get you to hear all the birds calling, but Jamie will probably be able to help you out, or even Tristan. Maybe you even get a lion roar a little bit later. But we hope to see you again tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari. I'm sure it'll be action-packed. Hopefully the dogs are still around, but from the walking team, it's been absolutely spectacular, and we will see you all soon. But let's go back across to Jamie and find out what she's going to do for the rest of the evening.
I'm still following these wild dogs. What else is there to do but to look at beautiful views like this? Isn't it stunning, Dave? The sky is a sort of funny colour of pale violet blue. The air is filled with the smell of wild dogs. They've trotted past us numerous occasions, stopping to sniff every now and again. Okay, now this time I really mean it. They are getting very close to the boundary. I'm not saying it's the last view of them. I'm just saying this time they really are. They're at a corner now. So either direction that they go in, unless they turn around and come back the way they've come, they're going to go off our property. But let's try for a view that may or may not be the last view of them. Let's leave it at that. Speaking of wild dogs and the question about whether or not they're ever found in urban areas, they do move out of fenced areas completely. That does happen. The reserve that I used to work at had no wild dogs. We'd have a pack run through about once a year. We had no idea where they came from. They were probably different dispersal packs. Look at these puppies sniffing the road. What's there? You gorgeous creatures, you. What have you seen? Another wild dog. Go on, you pop. Catch up with the rest of the group. Oh yes, so the reserve I used to work at, all of a sudden wild dogs moved in, settled down, had their pups at the reserve itself, which came as a surprise to all concerned. So it does happen. Wild dogs have been found right up near the top of Kilimanjaro. So have frozen leopard carcasses as well, strangely enough. So they do go to all kinds of extraordinary places. Okay, let's catch up because that's such a gorgeous bundle of dogs. A tapestry of wild dogs, how's that? Does that work? I like it. Tapestry of wild dog when they're all together like that. Or a canvas. How about a canvas of painted dogs? Getting so artistic. Brent would be proud. Canvas of wild dogs. Africa has an artistry all of her own. This has been one of the more sedate wild dog chases, actually. If they'd really been going full tilt, I don't know that we would have stayed with them as long as we did. Are we thinking about sleeping here for tonight? Because that would be really nice, if that's what you were thinking. Because then we could come and see you tomorrow morning before you disappear. You don't understand a word I'm saying, but that's okay. Okay. I love it next to the grass as well. Not next to the grass, in the grass. Nice to just sit and listen to the francolin and the other bird sounds. Crickets, cicadas. And most of all, a kind of pressing silence that reigns supreme out here. Thank you, doggies. I'm going to go up to this next corner and watch them trot down the road, and then we'll leave them be. Okay, let's just go to that corner quickly. Have one last shot of them. I've got to stop saying that. Might turn out not to be true. Apparently there's some debate as to whether or not Brent was watching. Apparently he was, but was unceremoniously removed from final control. I'm uncertain as to why, but I'm sure I will find out a bit later. Ah, he was trying to do Kirsty's job. So an unprecedented day all around, hey, Kirst? Bush, Mum, I agree. A truly, truly magnificent sighting. We've been very lucky. I hope there's some kids out there watching. An all-appropriate reminder of the day, World Wildlife Day, with with the most endangered carnivore or predator in South Africa, at least. What a nice way to spend the day. And highly appropriate as a symbol of what World Wildlife Day stands for. Bye-bye, pups. Have a good evening. Oh man, Jimmy just gives us the best birthday presents. Time to move on, look for other things. Bye bye, doggies. Thank you for that. Right, what should we do now, Dave? Find a chameleon? Okay. Well, we've been racing around. Tristan's just had such a lazy afternoon. I mean, he just hasn't moved. What's he been up to all afternoon? Let's go and find out whether his lions are giving him any excitement.
Well, Jamie, I know it has been an afternoon of not very much movement, and every time we go off air, the lions get up and move, and then they lie down exactly when we come back again. So it's been one of those afternoons where the lions haven't really played the game. But given that it is your birthday today, it was only fitting that you got the wild dogs, and I'm very happy that you did. It is a special thing to be able to follow wild dogs, and especially on World Wildlife Day, the most endangered carnivore that we have here. It really is quite fitting to have them on the show and to be able to talk about it and highlight the problems that they have. So I'm really happy for you, and given that it is your birthday, I think it was most fitting that you had them running around and doing what they did this afternoon. As for our lions, though, they have been very, very sedate, and maybe that's fitting because I've had the week off and I've come back and it's easing me back into drive and allowing me to get back into the swing of things. So I must admit that's not the worst way to start, by having mating lions. Unfortunately, they have been a little bit sluggish, and in this long grass they're almost non-existent. I tell you what, if you had to drive on the road, which is probably about 30 meters away from here, and you had to drive on that road now, and you would not absolutely see them without having a spotlight and picking up their eyes. Oh, and as I say that, he stands up. Yay, look at that. See, Jamie, we've got some luck too. Finally, some action. It doesn't look very it's not like the wild dogs in terms of how they run, but it is action nonetheless. Now, I'm pretty sure, given our afternoon that we've had, is she's going to sit down behind the thickest bush to be able to mate. So I'm going to get onto it quite quickly and try and see if I can get into the gap so that we can keep following her and make sure that we get on camera. Like we've had very little of it, so let's try and see if we can get in here. Oh no, see, behind the tree. Hold on. There we go. So slightly more noise coming from them this time. But that is very, very tame when it comes to mating. I find that lions tend to be a little bit tamer than what the leopards do. Leopards tend to lash out a lot more. The females tend to be a lot more feisty than what the lionesses do, but that was still very tame even by lion standards. There wasn't too much. You can see she's still not happy about him. He lay down quite close and she just lifted her paws to say, take one step closer and you're going to get it on the nose. And he heeded the warning, tucked his nose in and looked very sheepish for a second there. It still does, and is making sure that he's not going to put his head too close. So there we go. At least we got some action out of them. Hello, guys. Are they not the most beautiful animals, though? These two in particular are two of the best looking specimens that we have. They are both in their absolute prime. The young female just coming into the best years of her life, and I suppose so is that Birmingham male. They were quite young when they took over, so he's in his absolute prime as well. So really, really, really beautiful specimens to look at. And it seems that they're a little bit more awake. You can see she's got her head up now and she's really listening quite intently to the sounds of the night. And as the daylight sounds are starting to dip off, so the nocturnal sounds will start to come up, and she'll be listening for other lions and hyenas and trying to hear if there's any prey animals around. But generally when they're mating like this, hunting is not really on the menu. It's more about procreation. So you can see he just keeps a watchful eye on her. So as soon as she moves, he'll get up and move. So Victoria, this is a very interesting question because I don't think we can fully measure how lions respond to whether or not they feel any sort of emotion at a loss of a member of the pride. There is definitely some sort of emotion that is shown. And how we measure that is going to be very difficult. But I've seen countless times with lionesses moving around quite a lot to be able to try and find that lost member. So particularly if they've lost a cub or a previous cub, but they'll move in that area for long periods, contact calling over and over and over again. And you can see visibly that they're quite stressed by the fact that they can't find this individual. But when it comes to older lions, so I've seen very old lions that have died through old age, and they tend to just drop off the pride and become too old to actually move with them. And it's almost like the pride accepts the fact that they can no longer contribute, and the pride then moves on, and they don't really go after them looking. But when it's a younger member of the pride or a cub, then you find a very visible stress on these lionesses. But I suppose there is some emotion. Like I say, it's just difficult to measure exactly what it is and how much they feel. I know that with cubs, particularly if cubs die, they do get over it quite quickly. Within 2-3 weeks, they're already starting to mate again. So it just depends. I mean, like I say, there is some stress shown, but whether or not they will actively feel emotional about it for long periods of time is still debatable. We don't have a method of measure for that, so we can't really tell. It seems like she's flopped back over again and gone back to sleep. So she's had enough of him for this afternoon again. It's time to have a nice little rest. But you can see that very distinct black stripe that goes straight down the middle of his head. That's the easiest way for me to identify him, but it's going to soon go away by the looks of it. It looks like he's getting dark all over the top there now. So I'm going to have to find another way to ID him. I'm sure lots of you out there have different ways that you know who is who, so if you have a tip for me, you're more than welcome to send them through at #SafariLive. I'd love to know what you use to be able to identify the Birmingham boys. Obviously, Mfumo at the moment is so battered and scarred, and that's a little bit easier to see with his scars under his right eye at the moment. And then Tinyo with the tooth, and Nsuku, I'm not actually sure how you guys tell Nsuku, and I haven't seen Nsuku for a long time, so you say that Nena, you know how to recognize him by the 2 lines on his nose. Well, like I say, I haven't seen his nose, so next time I see him up close, I'll be able to have a look and see. But like the way that I always recognize Nena is through that black line that runs through the middle. It's almost like a mohawk of black through the top of his head. So that's what I always use. But like I say, it seems like that's not going to work for too much longer, given that he is getting darker. So I'm going to have to find another way, and those 2 lines might just be the way. So thank you very much for that. It's also quite difficult when you don't see them for long periods of time and they end up getting a bit battered and bruised. There's a lot of scarring and things that you don't end up being able to see. And so, you kind of see them one day, and then 3 months later they rock up and there's a new scar on the face, and it's always you've got to kind of look again. They've also grown a little bit. Their coats have darkened a little bit. So it takes a bit of time to actually get to recognize them again. I know the other night when I found those 2 Matimbas, it took me a while to kind of work out who they were. But it was definitely looked like them. They were much bigger than what the Birminghams are. The Birminghams are big boys, but those lions we saw the other day were really quite large. So it's quite difficult to know exactly who's who when you've got a lot of transient lions and they get into adult phase. Right, so we're going to try and see if we can get one more bout of activity from these lions. While we do that, we're going to go to Jamie, who I believe bumbling about on her birthday.
Bumbling about on my birthday? What a lovely ring that has to it. And in all of the chaos, speaking of birthdays, I completely forgot to say thank you to Taylor for my birthday cake. Of course, I couldn't see it, which is most unfortunate, but I'm sure that some of you will have sent me screenshots of what she prepared for me. So I thank you for those of you in advance who send those through, and thank you to Taylor and to Craig for preparing me a birthday cake. I'm not sure it's one I'm going to sample though. It's the thought that counts, definitely the thought that counts. I wonder what we shall have to do for Taylor's birthday. I'll have to try and return the wrap favor, which will be a disaster. Did you just go, Dave?
No, I just laughed.
Oh, you just laughed, okay. was going to say, do you have no faith in my rapping abilities? I would not blame you for having no faith in my rapping abilities. You would be spot on. I don't think I can rap to save my life. Gotta try though. Yeah. Not tonight though. Not tonight. It's too gorgeous an evening to be spoiled by my nonsense. Oh, by the way, we heard the dogs yipping excitedly after we left them. I think they might have killed something just beyond where we could actually go to see them, unfortunately. But I think they did actually manage to get some dinner. Which is... Oh, I'm sorry, giraffe. You were a strange thing to see. That was so weird. I'm not going to spotlight it. I can't. It is a diurnal animal. It is starting to get dark. I don't know if, Dave, if you can do anything with that. Oh, you can. Oh, the reason I got so confused... What did Kirsty say there?
I'm not sure.
Kirst, what was that chirp? Ah, yes, I remember. We need a silhouette of a giraffe. We had a discussion about how when giraffe are silhouetted against the sky, it looks a lot like a sock puppet. I'd forgotten about that. I promised myself one day I would actually make a sock puppet giraffe and try it. I never got around to it. The reason I got so confused is this female's baby is actually lying down a bit further to the right of her. And because it's lying down, its eyes were at such a strange height. It's over there, Dave. I don't know if you'll be able to... At the back there. There you go. Ew, it's so dark. No, it's almost invisible. Sorry, everybody. I don't want to spotlight it because it is a diurnal animal, and therefore the spotlighting can leave them dazzled for quite a long period afterwards. And a young giraffe is absolutely on the menu for lions, so I don't want to leave it going into the darkness, stumbling about and not able to see all that well. That would be grossly unfair. But it was at a weird height because it was lying down, so it was kind of... It made me look twice. I thought I was looking at a really long-necked hyena. And there you go. Ash, you were wondering if they stand up when they sleep. Ash, no, they don't. They can actually doze standing up. Hello, Corsa. Sorry, Corsa. They can actually stand up while they're asleep. However, generally they'll lie down. Giraffe don't sleep all that often. We'll go into this in a sec. Giraffe don't sleep all that often, but they will when they do. They'll lie down, but their necks will stay up. So they'll lie down like a camel might almost, but their necks will stay upright the entire time. They will never drop their heads and rest it on the ground. And obviously in that position they're quite vulnerable because they can't get up at great speed. So it does make them slightly more vulnerable. But on the subject of sleep, I read... Oh, sorry, Dacre. On the subject of sleep, I read an interesting article about elephants sleeping and the fact that they sleep the least out of any animal, and the correlation between size and the amount that an animal sleeps. And generally, a smaller animal sleeps more than a larger animal, but of course the lions are much larger than us and they sleep for 22 hours a day, so it's not a completely accurate comparison. But the elephants only entered the rapid eye movement sleep, which of course was always thought to be connected to memory forging or cementing within our brains. But apparently elephants only enter rapid eye movement sleep roughly every 3 to 4 days. Obviously baby elephants are different. They will sleep far more often, but how interesting is that? And not only that... Oh, that wasn't what I was going to say. I was going to say the way that they measured it was they actually put a... You know how you get these health monitors? They put one in their trunks to detect movement, and if the trunk was still for more than 5 minutes, it was declared sleeping. 1, 2, 3 bronze-winged coursers. It is the year of the bronze-winged coursers. Okay, I'm just going to switch my lights off and let them fly off. Plop. I promise you there weren't as many bronze-winged coursers last year. Must be the rain we've had. I heard one calling the other night as well. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Do you mind if I come past? Now, having had a long discussion about sleeping and how often different animals sleep, let's go across to the master of all, the lions.
Well, indeed, Jamie, they are the masters, and this is a prime example as why you should never be walking around in the bush at night on foot. If you have a look straight in front of these headlights in this area here, there are 2 lions lying right there, and if you can spot them, I'll give you a serious pat on the back, because the only thing you ever see is a tail flicking up there. I think they're just a little bit to the left of that. So, Lamech, if you go a little bit to your left, there we go, just next to that round leaf teak, we should see a tail whip up every now and then, but that is where 2 lions lie. So you can see if you were walking through here at night, now you can imagine without any lights how difficult it would be to see those lions. And even if you came here during the day and you're tracking these animals, it just shows you how tough it is sometimes to find them. But like I say, just watch closely to that green bush on the right side of the frame, and you'll see every now and then, and that will give you an idea of where those lions actually are. You can actually just see the Birmingham boy's head right on the left hand side there, just poking up through the grass, but otherwise they are almost invisible, and that's why lions will also hunt at night. You can imagine any antelope that walk through here, whether it be a buffalo, a kudu, impala, is not going to see that if they sit dead still, and so they can utilize this long grass to their advantage at night and really be able to hunt quite effectively. There you go, there's the tail just flicked up. Isn't that amazing? So, given that they are like this, and that we're not going to see too much more from them, I think we're going to leave them be and let them continue on their little honeymoon, and what else we can find on our way home. Red, so you want to know if all animals see in the dark? Well, varying degrees of seeing. I think it depends on what you define as see. If all animals can see as well as the lions, no, definitely not. The cats have a very different eye structure to what the antelope have. It's all to do with rods and cones. So cones are cells that pick up color or have color receptors, and rods are cells that pick up light. And so in lions and leopard and the nocturnal creatures, allows them to be able to see. Their vision is very, whereas with most of the antelope species, their color vision is still pretty good, and so they don't see you nearly as well at night. And there you go, look at them emerging. Amazing. Hey, you asked the question because we were going to go, but here they go. Same ritual as normal, and let's see if he's going to do it again. Just now he tried to tackle her down with his paws, so he actually to find the spotlight and
Sorry about that, everybody. It seems as though Tristan disappeared off your screens. It seems as though he lost signal. One of those inevitabilities when bringing you a live safari from the middle of Africa. Well, not quite the middle, but you get the idea. So I've been searching high and low for a chameleon for Dave. No such luck just yet. Taylor's got a special knack for spotting them, and so does Brian. Brian did such an amazing chameleon spot the other night. I happened to be sitting in final control after bushwalk, and I saw him see that chameleon. Wow, it was incredible. I was so impressed. Did you hear about that, Dave? He spotted it from the back at night in a moving, while the car was moving. It was mad skills, I'm telling you. Sorry, we appear to have found another car. Not a chameleon. Whoa. Crunch. How's it, Orbs? How are you? Good. Hi, guys. Cool. Yeah, those Madutch went north towards Sydney's for tomorrow. I'm sure they won't be far. Okay.
Those lions were amazing.
Were they awesome?
Absolutely amazing.
Wonderful.
Did you get good footage?
We got some very amazing footage. How?
Were we in the background going?
Give me 1 second, sorry. Okay, we're going to send you back to the lines, finish off our conversation. Sorry.
Alright, so we're just trying to reposition because they ended up moving off quite quickly, and I actually lost visual of them, and we had a few little gremlins creep in as well as me losing visual, so it all happened probably quite good because they literally just disappeared in this long grass, and so I've managed to find them again now. And there we go. There's the Birmingham boy, he's looking as regal as ever. So there we go. We're going to take the spotlight off and use the lights of the car. It's going to be a much easier way to do things. And she's just gone down to sleep again, but he's really still quite awake. He's become a lot more awake in the evening. You've seen him smelling the air. You can see he's doing it again a little bit, lifting that nose, just sniffing. He's a lot more receptive to noises. Every now and then he just pokes his head up and listens, and he's actually the one that's been standing up before she has and been sniffing around her, which has prompted her to get up and move. And so he's a lot more alert now that the darkness of the night is starting to fall, and he can know and sense that probably his brothers and varying other animals are going to be up and moving. But again, the camouflage on that female is just incredible. It doesn't even look like she's lying in front of him, and she's not a small girl by any stretch of the imagination. So, an amazing, amazing ability they have to be able to camouflage. And like I say, we're talking about the eyes, and so just to wrap it all up, is saying that the antelopes have slightly different cells in their eyes, and so they can see in color but not really very well at night, but they'll rely on their sense of hearing and their sense of smell to be able to detect these predators. Today there's a little bit of a breeze blowing, and so the antelope will be able to pick up these males or this female lion and be able to smell that lion smell, and they'll know then if there's a threat around, and they'll be far more vigilant. Also, you'll find that most antelope species are going to try and avoid areas like this where it's very thick vegetation, long grass. They'll try and stay in more open clearings with shorter grass that they can then potentially see these lions coming. So antelope, even though they don't see very well at night, are still very, very clever. And their sense of hearing and their sense of smell is still spectacular, just like the cat's is. And it has to be quite balanced, because otherwise you'd end up in a situation where if the lions were too well adapted and were better evolved, they would unfortunately be able to kill everything in their path, and we'd end up with a situation where there would be no antelope left for them to eat. And likewise, if the antelope were too fast or too sort of wily for the predators, we'd end up with a situation where the predators wouldn't eat and they would then die. So everything's got to be balanced, and it's a really tough game out here for each one. There's a little bit of give here and there, but really it's not much, and they're all very well balanced in terms of their senses and be able to detect one another through the different facets of the day. Alright, but like I say, I think we're going to leave them here and let them have a little break from vehicles and enjoy their romantic evening. Just come out of the month of love and Valentine's Day, so maybe this is a late celebration of all things Valentine's. So I think we're going to let them be and let the female sleep and rest, and we'll leave him to do what he needs to do and carry on. But what a spectacular afternoon. I know they were quite lazy at times, but just to see them mating is really quite spectacular, and to have them on the property and around again in our traverse is always really, really nice. So I'm really happy that we found them, and glad that we were able to spend so much time with them. It's been really quite nice. Oh, and look at that, we've got a bit of lightning now on the western skyline. So I'm just going to stop here and we'll just go up onto the sky, and maybe we'll be able to see. I'm going to turn off all my lights so that it's dark so that you can pick it up. Now, I haven't heard any thunder yet, but let's see if there's any more flashes of light. So it is quite black now. Don't worry, this is not a technical gremlin creeping in. We're just trying to see if we can get these flashes of lightning. There we go. You can just see them faintly in the distance. So in the distance, there's these little bursts every now and then. There we go. I don't know if you caught that there. It's still very soft and not too much light, but it is right down in the south. And it's been muggy and humid enough for a real big storm to roll in, so it might be spectacular this evening. Look at that, isn't that incredible? So what a beautiful way to end the day. There's nothing better than a really big evening thunderstorm. I love when big bolts of lightning shoot through the air and you hear that thunder rolling in. It's one of the best sounds in Africa, and then the rain that follows is always quite amazing. So definitely keep our eye on that. But we're going to carry on, because if that does reach us, which it's come up out of nowhere, if that decides to come towards us, we're going to get a little bit wet. So I don't want to get very wet, and I'm sure we don't want to get the camera wet, so we're going to go and try and get out of here and get back to camp. So while we do that, let's go across to the birthday girl herself, who is not wishing upon a star, but wishing upon the moon.
Oh, what more could one wish for, really? We don't need to wish upon a star when we've got views like this. That is so gorgeous. And as Tristan said, there's the clouds on their way towards the moon. That sounds ridiculous, but you know what I mean. Such lovely sounds. A nice moment to just reflect and sit and be grateful. Hey, Dave.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Sure. It is a truly balmy afternoon. I think the build-up before the storm, I wonder if it's going to hit us overnight. We'll find out. And since we're looking at the moon, and since it is, well, you know, been such a fantastic drive, I also just want to say a big thank you on Steph's behalf, and on, of course, for myself as well, to all of the Wild Earth crew members who have made the day so phenomenally special for us. It has been a truly lovely birthday, and I'm sure Steph feels much the same. We're very lucky to work with such amazing people, and we are very lucky to have such amazing viewers, so thank you to you all. I hope you had fun this afternoon, because Dave and I sure did.
There we go.
Can I say it again, Dave? Time is marching on. I didn't realize the pun the first time I said it the other day. Aww, we got a treat and a tweet from Brent Leo Smith, who is watching with Ali, who some of you may know. And Brent says a very happy birthday. Thank you, Brent. I've been spoiled rotten. I'm very lucky to have somebody so special. And Ali too, of course. It's Ali's birthday tomorrow. My goodness, what a party weekend it shall be. Is it the weekend? It is the weekend.
Yes.
It's the weekend. Right, well, what shall tomorrow hold for us? I'm kind of committed now to stopping in this position, so this is where we're going to stay for the last 2 minutes of our live safari. Perhaps we shall find some leopards. There are lots of bugs flying into my face. What a way to end off an evening than being bombarded by insects. How are you doing back there, Dave? Oh, one just made a beeline straight for my face. It's okay, I'm sure I'll survive. It is part of the reality, get out of my sleeve, of working out here. We'll take it though. When you get to experience afternoons like we did with those wild dogs, so close that we could have touched them if we had been so inclined, not that we ever would have, and a really lovely way to finish off World Wildlife Day. It's a great opportunity to raise awareness for all of the threatened fauna and flora, but fauna especially of our incredible planet. There are so many special, unique species just like those wild dog. It would be a terrible, crying shame if we as the human race were to allow even more of them to go extinct. So I hope you're all thinking of our fantastic wildlife. On that somewhat serious note, and very deep note, thank you to Dave. Thank you, Dave. I'm so sorry if you've got a sore back tomorrow. I really am. Thank you, Dave. And thank you to Kirsty. And Kirsty, who else is in final control? I didn't know. Megan. Thank you to Kirsty and to Megan, and most especially a big thank you to all of you. I hope you had an absolutely joyful ride along with us and that you all got bounced around in the back. And thank you to Anwar and Brian. My goodness, I feel like an Oscars winner. Thank you to all of you. I'll see you on the Sunrise Safari. Bye-bye, everybody.